Part 32. Dantian has a little field. Author, The Magic Orb Zoo. Chapter 311. Lin Su, don't be too proud. What if you have reached the late stage of transcending the tribulation? I don't believe that I can't take you down. Wang Sheng's face was filled with a ferocious look, and he was furious with shame. Stop talking nonsense, you'll see the truth behind your hands. Come here. Lin Su smiled faintly, stretched out his hand and gave Wang Sheng a hook. Bastard, take my halberd. Being looked down upon by Lin Su, Wang Sheng was filled with rage. The sky-splitting halberd appeared in his hand and turned into a violent blast and hit Lin Su fiercely. This time Wang Sheng used the power of the Great Dao. Lin Su's aura was firmly locked, and it was impossible to completely dodge it just by relying on speed and movement. If you want to force me to fight head-on, fine, as you wish. The sapphire sword appeared in Lin Su's hand. For the time being, it was his most powerful weapon at this stage. The Five Elements Spirit Sword was slightly less powerful than the sapphire sword, but the Five Elements Spirit Sword was Lin Su's natal weapon, and with the characteristics of evolution, as long as it is slowly cultivated and merged into one, it will be able to surpass the sapphire sword sooner or later. Boom! In the violent collision, two figures shot out. Wang Sheng's halberd scraped a deep crack on the ground. He retreated more than 10 feet before he stabilized his figure. On the other hand, Lin Su he stepped quickly with his toes on the ground for more than 10 times before standing firmly, pointing his sword at Wang Sheng. Make a decision. This is impossible. Wang Sheng's eyes were filled with bloodshot eyes and he roared crazily. He couldn't believe that Lin Su could counterattack him in a head-on confrontation. This was the only one who died in the last battle. A stubborn boy. It's only been more than 100 years. It's just that his cultivation has grown rapidly. How come his combat power has become so evil? I don't believe it. Die! Wang Sheng roared wildly, and the sky-splitting halberd danced crazily, tearing towards Lin Su with a force like a black dragon, vowing to tear Lin Su into pieces. Part. Swish, swish, swish. The sword light swept across, the sword energy was vertical and horizontal, and the power of the splitting halberd was blocked. The ground that could withstand the attacks of the Mahayana masters was also damaged. The center of Lin Su's fight was broken, and smoke and dust were everywhere. If there hadn't been a barrier to protect the martial arts arena, the Tiandao sect disciples watching the battle would have suffered heavy casualties. Although the aftermath of the battle between the two did not penetrate the barrier, everyone still felt the abnormal fighting power of the two. You must know that the martial arts field is a venue that is said to be able to withstand attacks below the Mahayana stage, but it was beaten into smoke and rubble. Flying around, although the two people in this battle have not reached the Mahayana stage, their combat prowess is almost the same. Who do you think will win, the son of heaven or the son of earth? Isn't this nonsense? Of course it's Master Xianxia. Master Xianxia is a super strong man in the late stage of the tribulation. The entire Tiandao sect has never been defeated by Master Daizai except at the hands of Master Daizai. Although Master Daizai is powerful, he is still young after all. How could he be the Emperor's opponent? That's not necessarily true, haven't you heard? During the Tao Tower qualification battle, the two of them ended up tied. That's because Lord Tianzi's cultivation level has been restricted. Otherwise, how would it be possible to draw a tie with Lord Tianzi based on Earth's cultivation level during the integration period? According to what you said, shouldn't Master Daizai have been defeated a long time ago? How could he persist for so long? And I think Master Daizai has the upper hand now. This. In order to build momentum for himself this time, Wang Sheng mobilized all the people from the underground palace to come, even the handymen. Naturally, these people praised Wang Sheng enthusiastically, but the situation at the scene seemed to be, it seems that Wang Sheng is at a disadvantage. Hoo ho! In just a short cup of tea, Lin Su and Wang Sheng had already fought for hundreds of rounds. Wang Sheng's breathing began to become a little disordered. On the other hand, Lin Su's breath was long. Wang Sheng became more and more frightened as he fought. At the beginning, he was full of ambition and confidence. There is no trace left. Despite his reluctance, Wang Sheng had to admit that Lin Su was now stronger than him. This reality made the always arrogant man so depressed that he wanted to vomit blood, especially the look on Lin Su's face after the two parties stopped and separated. The cruel look on his face made him feel that his chest was tight. Wang Sheng now feels that he is an idiot, a self-righteous idiot. He originally thought that he could use Lin Su as a stepping stone to restore his own power, but now it seems that he is afraid that he will become the stepping stone of the other party, so he voluntarily sent him to his door to step on him. Damn it! Damn it! Damn it! Wang Sheng's eyes were all red. He couldn't lose because he couldn't afford to lose. Losing to Taoist Situnan had already shaken his status. If he lost to Lin Su again, his majesty as the emperor would be completely destroyed. If he sweeps the floor, not only will there be no hope for the throne of Tianzong, there will definitely be many people who covet his position as emperor and will come out to challenge him. No, I can't lose. With a sudden change of heart, Wang Sheng's blood and essence suddenly boiled. Thick blood mist spread out from his body surface, surging on his surface like a protective flame, and his momentum instantly it has risen sharply, and there is a faint feeling that it has exceeded the tribulation period and reached the Mahayana period. It's a spiritual blood explosion. This guy is going to fight for his life. Lin Su's face changed. He had never thought about competing for the thrones of Tianzong and Daozong, so he had always behaved very low-key. If Wang Sheng hadn't been aggressive, if it hadn't been for the rich resources that the other party used as a bonus, Lin Su would have he didn't come to compete with Wang Sheng at all. Seeing that the other party was trying his best, Lin Su became a little anxious. It's not that he was afraid of Wang Sheng, but this meaningless fight was totally unnecessary. If Lin Su really used all his strength, it wouldn't be too difficult for him to take down Wang Sheng, but he would be too prominent, and he would also have an irreconcilable life and death feud with Wang Sheng, which would be a loss for him anyway. Brother Wang, are you going to fight to the death? It's not worth it. How about we make a deal? As long as you agree to one of my conditions, I will let you fight to a draw. Wang Sheng was about to launch an attack, but suddenly Lin Su's voice reached his ears. He stopped his steps and his high aura stagnated. What did this kid Lin Su say? Let me fight to a draw. Wang Sheng hurriedly dispersed the blood and energy in his body. Although spiritual blood explosion was powerful, it would cause a great burden on the body. If he could not use it, he naturally did not want to use it. What are the conditions? It's very simple. Double the amount of prizes. Also, promise not to cause trouble to my Daizi Palace in the future. Similarly, I won't compete with you for the throne of Tianzong. Lin Su's conditions made Wang Sheng stunned. Lin Su said that he would not compete with him for the throne of Tianzong. Is it true? Well, it's not impossible. Lin Su has always been low-key since joining Tiandao section except for the battle in Dao Tower, he has never competed with others for anything. Is he really not interested in the throne of Tianzong? But this kid's appetite is too big. He doubled the prizes. Does he think those precious resources fell from the sky? That's half of the resources of Tianzi Palace. Are you too greedy? Those prizes are not small amounts. Greedy? I don't think so. Brother Wang, you are a smart man. Compared with the throne of Tianzong, what are these resources? Wang Sheng was silent, his face was uncertain, and after a while he asked, why should I believe you? By the name of my Daizi, Lin Su's voice was full of strong confidence, and then he changed his tone, of course I can also make a blood oath, as long as your Tianzi Palace no longer troubles my Daizi Palace, I will not compete with you for the throne of Tianzi, how about it? Wang Sheng gritted his teeth and thought about it, and was about to agree, but suddenly a thought flashed through his mind: why is Lin Su so easy to talk to? Could it be that he knew he was not my opponent, so he lied to me? Yes, Feng Ming used spiritual blood explosion when he fought with him last time. He must know the power of this trick and knew that he could not win, so he showed weakness. The more Wang Sheng thought about it, the more certain he was. Yes, that must be the case. You almost fooled me, brat. Humph. You're afraid of losing to me, so you use such a cheap trick. I will destroy you today, Wang Sheng sneered, and the blood mist rose up again like a flame. The powerful momentum made the barrier begin to tremble slightly. The sky-splitting halberd in his hand released a halberd light of dozens of feet and chopped down on Lin Su's head. Hey! How come no one believes the truth these days? Lin Su shook his head helplessly. Forget it, since you don't believe it, I'll beat you until you believe it. Critical fist, the golden air wave rose from Lin Su's body, and his whole body was included in it. The green jade sword in his hand shone brightly, and he chopped several sword lights towards Wang Sheng's halberd light without showing any weakness. The halberd energy flew, the sword energy was crisscrossed, and deep cracks were cut on the ground. The barrier formations buried in the strata appeared one after another, releasing the power of the earth veins to protect the mountain. The martial arts field fell into chaos again with flying sand and rocks, which was difficult to distinguish with the naked eye. The crowd watching Lin Su and Wang Sheng exchanged glances for a while before fighting again. They all showed excitement and regret on their faces. They were excited because this level of duel was rare. Unfortunately, although the barrier blocked the spread of the aftermath of the fight between the two, it also blocked their spiritual consciousness and magic. Water mirror technique could not penetrate the restrictions of the barrier at all, so they could not see the specific situation of the fight between the two. How is it possible? Even with the spirit blood explosion, he couldn't take down this kid. Wang Sheng originally thought that he would definitely knock Lin Su down with the spirit blood explosion, but who would have thought that Lin Su's aura suddenly surged, not weaker than him at all, and seeing that the other party was at ease, it was obvious that he didn't use his full strength, and his heart suddenly skipped a beat. This guy didn't lie, his strength is indeed above mine. Wang Sheng was like swallowing a bitter fruit, his mouth was full of bitterness. He had always been called a genius who was so evil that he was abnormal. Who would have thought that there was always someone better than him? Now a genius who was even more evil than him appeared in front of him. It was ridiculous that he had regarded the other party as a stepping stone that could be easily controlled before, and took the initiative to challenge him. After a strong blow to force Lin Su back, Wang Sheng made a gesture to stop and said, "No need to fight, I agree to your conditions. Double the number of prizes." Lin Su raised the price. "You, Lin Su, don't go too far." It was obviously only double just now. Wang Sheng almost spit out a mouthful of blood, and roared in anger. "Too much. Just now was just now, now is now. I'll give you 3 breaths of time to consider, it's up to you whether you agree or not." Lin Su looked at Wang Sheng leisurely. He didn't believe that the other party would not agree. Humph. How can I force me to use critical fist without paying a price? You're so cruel. I promise you. Spiritual blood explosion, the time is limited. Looking at Lin Su's calm look, Wang Sheng knows that he is doomed to suffer a loss this time. He is at the mercy of others. Wouldn't it be better if it was like this? Lin Su chuckled, waved his hand and once again raised a cloud of dust to cover himself and Wang Sheng, so as not to be seen by people outside the martial arts arena, and then swore a blood oath. Wang Sheng fired a flash of fire with a gloomy expression. The guards outside the martial arts arena saw the signal fire and quickly stopped their formation and opened the barrier. The result of the competition? Who won? It's strange, both of them are standing in the field, and I can't tell who is winning. The barrier disappeared, and the mere smoke and dust naturally could not stop the monks from investigating, but the sight they saw made them quite confused. Lin Su and Wang Sheng stood opposite each other. There were no scars on their bodies, and they could not tell who they were. Whoever loses wins. When everyone was confused, Lin Su raised his hands to Wang Sheng and said loudly, "Brother Wang is really powerful. It is futile to continue fighting. Let's stop here. Farewell." After saying that, it turned into a stream of light and soared into the sky and flew towards the earth womb. 10 guards of the earth womb quickly followed. A draw. No way, it's a draw again. It should be true. Didn't you see that the emperor didn't object? This is the second time they have ended in a draw. The emperor's cultivation level was limited last time, but there are no restrictions this time. Daisa can actually tie with him. Doesn't that mean that Daisa's real strength has caught up with the emperor? Wang Sheng looked very ugly as he listened to everyone's discussion. Although it ended in a draw, in everyone's eyes Lin Su had caught up with Wang Sheng, the emperor, in just over 100 years, and was much more talented than Wang Sheng. A lot. Thinking of the words Lin Su left in the message when he left, "Thank you, Brother Wang, please send the winnings to my earthly womb as soon as possible." Wang Sheng felt a sense of embarrassment. He stamped his feet fiercely and turned into a stream of light and flew towards the heavenly womb. The monks in the heavenly womb looked at me and I looked at you, and they all followed suit silently, no longer as arrogant as before. After Lin Su returned to the underground palace, he smiled and prepared a large banquet for the guards to have a drink with. The guards were a little confused at first. It was just a tie. Why were you so happy? The people in the womb sent a storage ring containing a large amount of resources, and the guards suddenly realized that it seemed that Master Dituzi had let his guard down this time. Thanks to book friend Red God for voting for 1 month. Dantian has a little field. Author, The Magic Orb Zoo. Chapter 312. Although the contest between Wang Sheng and Lin Su ended in a draw, the status of the entire Daisa Palace in the Tiandao sect has risen a lot, and no one dares to regard Daisa Palace as a new force anymore. Strangely, the Tianzi Palace did not drop as Wang Sheng thought, but instead became more stable. Perhaps the contest between Wang Sheng and Lin Su was too thrilling, allowing everyone to see the terrifying strength of Wang Sheng, the emperor. It is said that after the two left the martial arts field that day, when everyone was cleaning the martial arts field, they found that the surface rock layer was destroyed. If it were not for the formation buried under the ground to protect the mountain, the entire Kishan Peak would probably be destroyed. With such a terrifying destructive ability, everyone asked themselves that no one could do it. It would be a dead end to challenge Wang Sheng rashly. Wang Sheng did not expect that he had made a bad move, but he got an unexpected result. He was also slightly relieved, because the depressed mood caused by Lin Su's blackmail was finally relieved a little. As for Lin Su, he returned to his previous life, staying in the underground palace to practice year after year, and the 10 underground palace guards did the same. In their opinion, the status of the underground palace in the Tiandao sect was not as good as practicing in the Dragon Valley spiritual field space to comprehend the Great Dao, and there was no need to waste time practicing to accept the awe of everyone. In a flash of 100 years, Lin Su's cultivation reached the late stage of the great perfection of the crossing tribulation, and the 10 guards around him also improved significantly, all reaching the late stage of the fusion, and even 2 of them broke through to the early stage of the crossing tribulation. In comparison, Lin Su's cultivation improvement speed was not as fast as these guards under him, but he didn't care, because this was what he did on purpose. Lin Su has always adhered to a principle, trying to suppress the improvement of his cultivation and maximize his potential, which is why his combat power has always been far higher than his cultivation. The 100-year deadline has come, and it's time to return to Dragon Valley. Lin Su left Tiandao sect with 10 guards who were already impatient. This time, no one dared to send spies to follow them. After teleporting to a few cities to make sure no one was following, Lin Su and his party teleported directly to Pingyang City and rushed to the Death Forest. Hearing that Lin Su was coming, Zhizuir and others came out of retreat. Although it is said that there is no time in cultivating immortals, and 100 years pass in a blink of an eye, after all, they haven't seen Lin Su for 200 years, and everyone missed him very much. Haha, Linzi. Brother has caught up with your cultivation. As soon as they met, Zhang Yunfan looked Lin Su up and down, then patted Lin Su on the shoulder and laughed. After 100 years of cultivation and 100 years of development, Dragon Valley has made great progress. Not only has the number of disciples increased a lot, but the cultivation has also reached a new level. According to the rules set by Lin Su, those who have reached the late stage of transformation can enter the spiritual field space for cultivation. In the past 100 years, more than 50 people have qualified to enter. Zhizuir and others also made great progress in their cultivation, all reaching the crossing tribulation stage, especially Zhang Yunfan, who directly jumped to the great perfection stage of the crossing tribulation stage, and was comparable to Lin Su in terms of cultivation. Lin Su had no jealousy for this, as it was not possible for Longgu to become truly powerful by himself alone, and the current development of Longgu was what Lin Su wanted to see the most. Lin Su took out the resources extorted from the Emperor Wangsheng, and piled them up into a small hill, which made everyone's eyes pop out. Linzi. Zhang Yunfan swallowed. Are you robbing the Tiandao sect? What do you mean by robbing? Lin Su rolled his eyes unhappily. I am the lord of the earth of the Tiandao sect, do I need to rob? This is the prize for the Emperor Wangsheng to lose to me in the competition. Prize? So many prizes? Did Wangsheng get kicked in the head by a donkey? Zhang Yunfan and everyone else looked unconvinced. Of course there wouldn't be so many resources if it was just a competition, Lin Su said with a chuckle. I let Wangsheng win in the competition, this is the price he agreed to pay. Lin Su briefly explained the process of the battle with Wangsheng, and everyone suddenly realized it. After a little thought, they understood Lin Su's plan. Suer, are you planning to withdraw from Tiandao sect? Yewuji looked at Lin Su and asked. Father-in-law, you still understand me? That's right. I think it's about time to withdraw from Tiandao sect and let Longgu officially appear in front of the world, Lin Su said with a smile. Lin Su has never thought about staying in Tiandao section. He has his own sect, Longgu. At the beginning, it was because Longgu had just started and was far from having the strength to compete with Xianxia Palace and Tiandao sect, so Lin Su temporarily joined Tiandao sect in order to collect resources and slowly develop Longgu. Now the strength of the senior leaders of Longgu is not weaker than that of Tiandao sect, and it must be similar to that of Xianxia Palace. In addition, the huge amount of resources extorted from Emperor Wangsheng this time is enough for the development of Longgu for a long time in the future. There is no need to stay in Tiandao sect, especially now that the effect of practicing in the spiritual field space is far stronger than that of the Earth Palace. In fact, Lin Su had already made this plan when he came to Longgu this time, and he made up his mind after seeing the development of Longgu. Then my husband, are you not going back? Ye Ping'er shouted in surprise. She has been with Lin Su for many years. She didn't say it, but she had been resentful in her heart. When Ye Ping'er said this, Zhizuir and Leng Lingyu also stared at Lin Su with their beautiful eyes. They missed him so much after being apart for so many years. Not going back, Lin Su nodded with a smile. When he came out this time, he had already put all the useful things in Tiandao sect into the storage ring. He originally planned not to go back. Great, Ye Ping'er cheered. Zhizuir and Leng Lingyu were also full of joy, staring at Lin Su with tenderness and charm. Longgu can finally show up in the spirit world with a legitimate reason. The disciples of Longgu are all excited. People who cultivate immortals are also human beings, with 7 emotions and 6 desires, and naturally hope to be famous in the world. However, Among the crowd, the most excited are the 18 guards that Lin Su brought from the Earth Palace. Shi Donghua and the other 5 people have cultivated in the spirit field space for 100 years. They have all broken through to the peak of the early stage of the tribulation. If they were in Tiandao sect, let alone 100 years, I am afraid that they may not be able to achieve it even in 200 or 300 years, not to mention that they have all comprehended the first stage of the mysterious avenue, which was something they dared not think of in the past. Now the 100-year deadline has come. Originally, they should return to Tiandao sect to replace the next batch of 5 guards. Now Lin Su announced that Long was officially born and would not return to Tiandao sect, so they could continue to practice in the spiritual field space. The 10 guards brought by Lin Su were also very excited. According to the plan, they could only keep 5 people this time. The other 5 had to wait for the next 100 years to practice in the spiritual field space. Now it's good, they can all stay. Long was born. The whole spirit world was shocked. No one expected that a small sect that was originally unknown would have such a deep foundation. Longgu has always had branches in major cities to recruit disciples, but it has always been low-key, and there has never been any connection between them. In the eyes of the people in the spirit world, it is just a small sect that fights and fights. No one has ever thought of linking the branches of Longgu in various cities together. Once it was made public, the people in the spirit world were shocked. Unknowingly, the power of Longgu had spread throughout the spirit world. The most surprising thing was that these were only the peripheral forces of Longgu. The core sect of Longgu was in Gigu, one of the 7 forbidden places. Gigu, one of the 7 forbidden places of spiritual energy, was known as a place of death where one could enter but could not leave. No one expected that there was a cave paradise that could be used as a sect's residence, and it was discovered by the force called Longgu. These were not the most important things. The most important thing was that the sect called Longgu had been developing in secret for hundreds of years, and the various forces in the spirit world knew nothing about it. Even the 2 major sects, Xianxia Palace and Tiandao sect, did not notice it at all. If Longgu had not come out now, the people in the spirit world would still be kept in the dark. It is also said that the leader of this Dragon Valley is named Lin Su, and he is also one of the 3 sons of Tiandao sect, Dzi. He has been hiding in Tiandao sect for hundreds of years and no one knows about it. If this rumor is true, Tiandao sect will lose face this time. Revealing Dragon Valley to everyone is a decision made by Lin Su, Yewuji and others after brainstorming. First, since they have decided to completely break away from Tiandao sect, they must break off completely. Dragging it is not good for the development of Dragon Valley. Second, there have always been only 2 major sects in the spirit world, Xianxia Palace and Tiandao section. Suddenly, Dragon Valley popped up, which would definitely cause dissatisfaction from the 2 major sects and jointly suppress it. This is very unfavorable for Dragon Valley. Exposing Lin Su's identity as Dzi of Tiandao sect will anger Tiandao sect even more, but Xianxia Palace may not be. It is the Tiandao sect that is embarrassed. The most likely thing for Xianxia Palace is to sit on the mountain and watch the fight between the tigers, and let the Tiandao sect come to trouble Longgu. If the Tiandao sect can destroy Longgu, then Xianxia Palace will save some effort. If it cannot destroy Longgu, both sides will be defeated and Xianxia Palace can reap the benefits. Of course, there is a third situation, that is, the Tiandao sect will return with nothing, then the strength of Longgu will have to be re-estimated. However, no matter what, the Tiandao sect will definitely take action, and Xianxia Palace has no need to join in the fun and consume its own strength. The development of the matter is just as Lin Su and others expected. After the news of Longgu's birth spread, Xianxia Palace did want to work together with the Tiandao sect to destroy Longgu at first. There are 2 major forces in the spirit world, which is enough. If there is one more, the resources will be diluted. Xianxia Palace will never allow this to happen. But after hearing that Lin Su, the Earth Master of the Tiandao sect, was the leader of Longwu. Xianxia hesitated. Could it be that Longwu was created by the Tiandao sect? It was said that the sect of Longwu was located in Gigo, one of the 7 forbidden areas. Could it be that this was a trick of the Tiandao sect to introduce the elite forces of Xianxia into Gigo and destroy it in one fell swoop, so as to achieve the goal of the Tiandao sect to dominate the spirit world? Think about it carefully, this is not impossible. Xianxia decided to wait and see how the Tiandao sect would react to this matter. If the Tiandao sect did not take action, it would prove that this was a conspiracy of the Tiandao section. If this was not a conspiracy of the Tiandao sect, it would be equivalent to Lin Su establishing his own sect under the nose of the Tiandao sect and using the resources of the Tiandao sect to develop his own section. This was equivalent to slapping the face of the Tiandao section. The Tiandao sect would definitely not be able to swallow this breath, and Xianxia just watched from the sidelines. When the news of Dragon Valley reached Tiandao sect, the disciples of Tiandao sect did not believe it at first. In their opinion, Lin Su was already a distinguished Lord Daizi, and there was no need for him to establish his own section. How could a small Dragon Valley compare to Tiandao sect? Lin Su was the most powerful candidate to succeed Tianzong and Dao sect. It's just that the rumors are getting more and more true, and even the servants have left the underground palace. The Tiandao sect can't sit still. The Emperor Xianxia and the Taoist disciple Situnan used secret methods to report the situation to Tianzong and Daozong, who practice in seclusion. Due to the seriousness of the matter, both Tianzong and Daozong interrupted their training and sent people to Pingyang City to inquire about the news. The news returned made Tianzong and Daozong's expressions so gloomy that they were almost dripping with water. Yes, Daizi Lin Su is indeed the sect master of Longwu, and Lin Su has officially announced his separation from Tiandao sect, and even said that he is very grateful to Daozong for taking care of him over the years. Daozong felt the weird looks from the disciples of Tiandaozong, coupled with Tianzong's sarcastic words with guns and sticks. He felt that his lungs were about to explode with anger, and he wished he could catch Lin Su in front of him and eat him alive. Damn brat, how dare you play tricks on me, I will cut you into pieces. All along, Daozong felt that he had unique vision and discovered a talent like Lin Su, and Lin Su did live up to his trust in helping him bring out the Dao patterns of the 2 avenues from the Dao tower. Daozong, even when he was considering supporting Lin Su to succeed to the throne of Dao sect while waiting for him to ascend to the immortal world, who would have thought that Lin Su actually created Dragon Valley under his nose and hid it from him for so long? In Daozong's eyes, Lin Su is an obedient chess piece, a useful chess piece, but now this chess piece has jumped out of his grasp, which he absolutely cannot allow. Xianxia and Situnan, I order you to lead the elites of 1,000 sects to destroy Dragon Valley for our sect and capture the traitor Lin Su. If anyone dares to resist, he will be killed without mercy. Yes, Master Daozong. Xianxia and Situnan responded in unison, but what they were thinking at the moment was completely opposite. Xianxia was overjoyed. Although Lin Su had sworn a blood oath not to compete with him for the throne of Tianzong, the current situation undoubtedly made him feel at ease. Moreover, Lin Su had taken away a lot of resources from him. I have long wanted to express my anger. Situnan was a little unimpressed. He and Lin Su didn't have much interaction, but he could see that Lin Su was not an easy person to deal with. Since he dared to expose Longwu to the public, he naturally had something to rely on. I'm afraid that this trip it didn't go so well. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Dantian has a little field. Author, The Magic Orb Zoo. Chapter 313. The storm is coming. The entire Pingyang city was overcrowded overnight. All the inns were occupied by the cultivators of the Tiandao sect, and even most of the houses were requisitioned. The scattered cultivators dared not speak out, and could not find a place to live in Pingyang city. They could only retreat outside the city helplessly. They wanted to leave, but they did not want to miss this amazing battle. Many people directly cut down trees outside Pingyang City to build temporary houses. The first bird to stick its head out gets shot. Long made a bad move. That's right, it would have been great if they had hidden in Gigo and developed slowly, but they had to show their heads. Now they are being targeted by Tiandao sect, and it looks like they are not far from being destroyed. I heard that the leader of Longwu, Lin Su, was the son of the earth, one of the three sons of Tiandao in Tiandao sect, and he has a high status. I really don't understand why he wanted to leave Tiandao sect and create Longwu. Who knows? Maybe he is bored. How can we, the small casual cultivators, guess what these big figures think? We should just watch and see if there is a chance to make a profit while the water is muddy. The small forces and casual cultivators of all parties were all stranded in and outside Pingyang City with a mentality of watching the fun, wanting to fish in troubled waters. When Longwu was destroyed by Tiandao section, basically, no one thought that Longwu could stop the encirclement and suppression of Tiandao sect. In the VIP room of Tianlai Inn, the largest inn in Pingyang City, Emperor Wangsheng and Daizai Situnan were sitting opposite each other drinking. Situ, how many days do you think it will take us to break through the Dragon Valley? After half a round of drinking, Wangsheng glanced at Situnan and laughed. Breakthrough? Hey, Situnan sneered and didn't say anything. Wangsheng raised his eyebrows. Don't you think that we can't take down Lin Su with our strength? Situnan looked up and looked at Wangsheng quietly for a long time, with a strange arc at the corner of his mouth, and didn't say anything. Damn it, Wangsheng was angry. Situnan was obviously looking down on him. Lin Su was indeed powerful, but could he alone resist thousands of elite disciples of Tiandao sect? It was a joke. What's more, in order to be foolproof this time, Wangsheng invited Elder Bai, one of the four elders, to come together. Elder Bai was a powerful man in the Mahayana period. To crush Lin Su, wouldn't it be as easy as crushing an ant? Go, fully investigate the death forest, block all entrances and exits, and don't let a fly go. Wangsheng ordered the Tianzi Palace guards behind him, and then looked at Situnan with a little provocation, but Situnan closed his eyes leisurely, which made Wangsheng grit his teeth. Wait and see. Since you don't dare to make a move, then I, the Tianzi Palace, will destroy Longwu and take this great credit. Wangsheng angrily put the wine glass on the table, stood up and walked out of the house, and the Tianzi Palace guards hurriedly followed him. What was put on the table was weathered away silently and disappeared. Situnan opened his eyes and glanced at the door, snorting a disdainful sneer from his nose. Arrogant and ignorant guy, if Lin Su was not absolutely sure, how could he expose Longwu on his own initiative? Want to steal the credit? Okay, I'll let you hit your head and bleed, and I'll slowly take action. Under the order of the Emperor Wangsheng, dozens of elite disciples of Tiandao sect headed for the Death Forest. The lowest level of these people's cultivation was above the fusion stage. The order they received was to explore the Death Forest to the maximum extent and find out the route from Longwu to Gigo. In Wangsheng's view, since the disciples of Longwu could safely reach Gigo, there was no reason why the masters of Tiandao sect could not do it. It was just a pity that Wangsheng could not have thought that there was a demon king like Tyrant Bear King who reached the golden immortal level in Longwu. The space transmission node in and out of Gigo was set by Tyrant Bear King. Not to mention these disciples of Tiandao sect, even if Tianzong and Dao sect came together, it would be difficult to find, let alone crack it. The only way for Tiandao sect to attack Gigo was to pass through the Death Forest and the Blood Pool, but was this road of death so easy to open? Deep in Gigo, on Dragon Island. Dragon Valley disciples, you all should know that the Tiandao sect's army has already arrived at Pingyang City and will soon launch an attack on our Dragon Valley. However, what our sect wants to tell you now is that you don't need to panic, don't pay attention, just practice as you should, they will definitely not be able to attack us. As soon as Lin Su's words came out, the emotions of all the disciples in Dragon Valley were immediately ignited. Haha, I said that the sect master and the elders have already found a way, so there is no need to worry at all. That's right, how can the people of Tiandao sect crack the space node set by Xianxia? If you want to come in, you must first pass through the death forest and the blood pool. There's nothing to worry about. Let's go, and fight again. I have never been convinced that I lost to you last time. After calming down the emotions of the Dragon Valley disciples, Lin Su leisurely entered the spiritual field space, thinking that everyone would ask him about the situation outside. Who knew that everyone just glanced at him lightly and turned to fly towards their own palaces. What's going on? Aren't you worried at all? Lin Su was a little depressed, and his voice spread throughout the spiritual field space. What is there to worry about? If there was really a problem, you wouldn't be standing here complaining. Zhang Yunfan's voice came, don't bother me if there's nothing to do, and don't look for me if there's something to do. Brother, I want to practice dual cultivation happily with my dear Yunur, ouch. This beast, Lin Su fiercely raised a middle finger towards Zhang Yunfan's palace. It seems that everyone has the same idea as Zhang Yunfan. They have already found out the general cultivation level and number of the cultivators from the Tiandao sect who came this time. With such strength, let alone annihilating the Dragon Valley, it is still uncertain whether they can pass through the death forest and the blood pool. What is there to worry about? Lin Su curled his lips and said nothing more. He scanned with his spiritual sense and found that Zizuir, Yepinger, and Leng Lingyu were in his palace. It seemed that they were waiting for him. He was immediately happy. His wives were considerate. With a flash of his figure, Lin Su disappeared from the spot and entered his own palace. What? None of them came out. In the Tianlai Inn in Pingyang City, the Emperor Wang Sheng listened to the report of his subordinates and slapped the table in front of him to pieces. Fortunately, Daizai Situnan saw that the situation was not right and released a force to protect the surroundings. Otherwise, the entire Tianlai Inn would probably be broken up by Wang Sheng's angry blow. Wang, is it necessary to be so angry? You are the emperor, you should stay calm, Situnan chuckled. Calm as. Wang Sheng was furious when he saw Situnan's indifferent expression. Calm. It's easy to say. The dozens of elite disciples sent out to investigate the news were all his people. 3 days have passed and none of them have returned. Most of the natal jade tokens were broken. How could he stay calm? Situ, Master Daozong sent you and me to lead the team to wipe out Longwu. Shouldn't you also express your gratitude? Wang Sheng stared at Situnan with a cold look. The dozens of people who were lost were all from his Tianzi palace, and Situnan's Daizai palace had not made any moves so far. What's wrong? I'm the one who suffers all the losses, and you share the benefits. Isn't it too good to think? Express? Of course I have to express my gratitude. Situnan smiled and said, I have asked Elder Bai to investigate the news, and there should be results soon. What? Situnan asked Elder Bai to help? Wang Sheng was shocked, and his face became even gloomier. No wonder Elder Bai disappeared. Situnan asked him to leave first. Damn it! Wang, with Elder Bai's help, it will be foolproof. Don't worry about it. Sit down and have a drink. Situnan raised the wine glass in his hand. Wang Sheng's fists creaked and he glared at Situnan fiercely, but the other party didn't care at all. Wang Sheng felt like he was punching cotton. He could only sit down and drink. Damn Lin Su, don't let me catch you, otherwise I will make you live a life worse than death. Wang Sheng was angry, but he couldn't do anything to Situnan. His status in Tiandao sect was equal to his, and now his strength was definitely better than his. He could only vent all his anger on Lin Su. Seeing this scene, Situnan couldn't help but sneer in his heart. It seems that Wang Sheng has been confused by Lin Su and is no longer a concern. Lin Su is gone, and now Wang Sheng is useless. Tiandao sect will be Situnan's world in the future, ha 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 ha. The strength of the Mahayana strongman is indeed extraordinary. In just one day, Elder Bai returned from the Death Forest. He not only found out the route to enter the Ghost Valley, but also brought out more than a dozen surviving Tiandao sect monks he met along the way. Elder Bai, according to you, there is only one way to enter Ghost Valley. After hearing the news brought back by Elder Bai, not only the Emperor Wang Sheng, but also the Taoist Situnan frowned. According to Elder Bai, if you want to enter the depths of Ghost Valley, you can only pass through the Death Forest and a blood pool with a powerful illusion. As for what you will encounter later, it is unknown, because Elder Bai said that there is an extremely terrifying monster hiding in the blood pool. Even he is not sure about dealing with it. He can't go deeper and can only choose to withdraw. With Elder Bai's status and position, I think he will not make rash assertions. Since even he said he is not sure, it can be seen how terrifying the monster in the blood pool is. Ghost Valley is worthy of being one of the 7 Jedi in the spirit world. It is really not simple. There is just one thing that Wang Sheng and Situnan find very strange. Since the Death Forest and the Blood Pool monster are so powerful, how do people from Dragon Valley enter and exit Ghost Valley? Lin Su's strength should be on par with theirs, not much stronger, and it is impossible for everyone in Dragon Valley to have Lin Su's strength. How did they pass through the Death Valley and the Blood Pool? Could it be that the people in Dragon Valley have other ways to enter and exit Ghost Valley? I have thought about this, but I have thoroughly searched the Death Forest and did not find any secret passages or transmission nodes. Of course, it is also possible that the person who set up the transmission nodes is much stronger than me, so I didn't notice it. Facing the questions of Wang Sheng and Situnan, Elder Bai said frankly. Elder Bai is so powerful, how could there be someone more powerful than Elder Bai in a small Dragon Valley? I'm afraid that Lin Su got the treasure of Ghost Valley and mastered the method of manipulating the Death Forest and the Blood Pool, Situnan said. Although Wang Sheng and Situnan didn't get along, he nodded in agreement. That's what I guessed, but judging from the current situation, if we want to force our way into the Dragon Valley sect, we can't avoid the Death Forest and the Blood Pool. The Death Forest is fine, it's not difficult for me and the 2 lords to make a way out, but the Blood Pool. Elder Bai shook his head. Although he only fought the Blood Demon Remnant Soul in the Blood Pool, the overwhelming bloody aura and the extremely strong corrosive power really made Elder Bai feel scared. To say that he was not sure was just flattering himself. If they really fought, Elder Bai would definitely not be the opponent of the Blood Demon Remnant Soul. Then, doesn't that mean we can't do anything to Lin Su? Wang Sheng clenched his fist unwillingly, and the wine glass in his hand broke instantly. 2 ways, Situnan touched his chin and thought for a while, then said, first, start with the branches of Dragon Valley in major cities and force Lin Su out. I thought it was a good idea, but it turned out to be such a bad idea. Wang Sheng shook his head when he heard it. I have tried this method a long time ago, and it is useless. Those Dragon Valley branches are just peripheral organizations of Dragon Valley, without any core members. Even before Dragon Valley was born, they didn't know that the Dragon Valley sect headquarters was in Ghost Valley. It is impossible to use these people to force Lin Su out. To put it bluntly, the branches of Linggu in major cities are independent small sections. They usually don't contact each other, and they don't know that there is such a powerful sect headquarters in Ghost Valley, one of the 7 forbidden areas. All those who meet the conditions to become core disciples are directly taken away and led to Dragon Island after several confirmations. It is an absolute single-line connection. Wang Sheng had already tried the first method proposed by Situnan. Strictly speaking, those so-called Longgu branch disciples were not Longgu cultivators at all. They were objects that could be abandoned at any time. It was wishful thinking to use this to force out Lin Su and Longgu's core strength. At least Xianxia felt that anyone with a normal mind would know how to choose. Then there is only the second method, sit Yunan's side, ask for help from Master Tianzong and Master Daozong. This is not something we can handle. Xianxia gritted his teeth fiercely, and after a long while, he sighed helplessly and agreed to sit Yunan's proposal. The current situation is indeed beyond their ability. They have lost dozens of elite disciples before they even saw the Longgu sect's headquarters. It's a bad start. Even the strongest elder Bai is not sure at all. There is really no better way except asking for help. But, it's really unwilling. Dantian has a little field. Author, The Magic Orb Zoo. Chapter 314. After receiving the joint request for help from the Emperor Xianxia and the Taoist Sit Yunan, Daozong frowned. He thought that it would be easy for the Emperor and the Taoist to take down a small Lin Su at the same time. He didn't expect that he would lose troops before he could even see the other People's Mountain Gate station. It was really beyond Daozong's expectations. Rightward arrow. Boy, it seems that this sect still underestimated you. Humph, with a cold snort, Daozong disappeared from the palace and appeared at the foot of Tiandao Mountain. Tiandao Mountain was surrounded by a barrier. Even with Daozong's ability, he couldn't teleport directly through it. He had to honestly activate the spell to pass through. Daozong's figure just appeared at the foot of the mountain, and Tianzong also came to the foot of the mountain. Seeing each other's figure, they were slightly surprised, and then they understood that Tianzi Xianxia and Daozai Sit Yunan were sent by Daozong to destroy Longwu. Now that there is a problem, he must go to check it out. Elder Bai, who was invited by Xianxia and Sit Yunan, tends to be Tianzong among the four elders. He can be regarded as a member of Tianzong's army. Even Elder Bai is not sure to deal with the blood pool monster, but Tianzong is quite interested. The two looked at each other, nodded, and rushed to Pingyang City through the barrier. Hello, Master Tianzong and Master Daozong. Seeing Tianzong and Daozong coming together, Xianxia and Sit Yunan were a little surprised. They didn't expect the two bosses to be so concerned about Longwu. No need to be polite. What's the situation now? Tianzong didn't say anything, and Daozong waved his hand lightly and asked. Xianxia briefly explained the situation, and Tianzong and Daozong narrowed their eyes. Old Bai, are you sure there is only one way to the Dragon Valley sect's headquarters? Tianzong looked at Elder Bai who was standing quietly beside him and asked. To reply to Lord Tianzong, it is true. Of course, the possibility of hidden space transmission nodes cannot be ruled out. My subordinates are limited in strength and cannot see it, so I can only ask Lord Tianzong to help. Elder Bai clasped his fists and said. Interesting. Tianzong's eyes flashed with a gleam of brilliance, and he cast his gaze on Daozong, chuckled and asked, Brother Zhang, are you interested in going with me to check it out? That's what I meant. Before the voice fell completely, Daozong's figure had disappeared, and Tianzong and Elder Bai followed closely behind. Tianzi Xianxia and Daozai Sit Yunan looked at each other and quickly teleported to follow. Brother Zhang, have you found it? Compared with Daozong, Tianzong has a much deeper grasp of the laws of space, because he himself has comprehended the great Dao of space among the 3,000 great Daos. After investigating the entire Death Forest, Tianzong stopped in front of the space transmission node set by Tyrant Bear King and pointed his finger. Daozong's face changed when he heard this, and he concentrated on sensing. Sure enough, he found that there was a very weak abnormal spatial fluctuation in the bushes in front. If Tianzong hadn't reminded him, he would not have noticed it. Elder Bai, Xianxia, and Sit Yunan, who followed closely behind Tiandao and Erzong, concentrated on sensing for a long time but still found nothing. It seems that there are masters who are proficient in the way of space in this Dragon Valley. Tianzong and Daozong's faces sank. Although they could sense the abnormality of spatial fluctuations, they could not crack it, which means that they could not use the space transmission node at all. If they wanted to enter the Dragon Island deep in the Ghost Valley, they still had to go through the blood pool. This space transmission node could not have been set up by Lin Su. That guy doesn't have that ability. Daozong's face was gloomy. The chess piece that he always thought was under his control not only jumped out of his control, but also revealed a trump card that shocked him. This made Daozong, who always boasted of being well prepared, feel very uncomfortable. I didn't expect that there would be a master of space in this spiritual world who is better than our section. We really want to see him. Tianzong's eyes were shining. It was rare to meet a master who could suppress him in space. His competitive spirit was completely aroused. Let's go to the blood pool and take a look. Tianzong and Daozong walked towards the depths of the death forest. Wang Sheng's eyes turned, and he took out a sound transmission jade slip and waved it, but Sa Situnan also made the same action. He couldn't help but narrow his eyes, snorted coldly, and followed the footsteps of Tianzong and Daozong. Shortly after the two left, dozens of Tiandao sect disciples came to the space transmission node, cleared the surrounding trees and built a temporary station. These disciples all received orders from Tianzi Wangsheng and Daozai Situnan to ensure that no one in Longgu could escape from this space transmission node. In their opinion, if Tianzong and Daozong attacked at the same time, the blood pool monsters and Longgu masters would all be vulnerable. But is this really the case? In the Dragon Island spirit field space, the sleeping tyrant Bear King suddenly opened his eyes, disappeared in a flash, and teleported to Lin Su's palace. "Senior Bear King, can you please let me know before you come next time?" Lin Su got up from the bed, waved his hand to cover the sleeping Zizuir and the other two girls, and complained to Tyrant Bear King, who was sitting leisurely in front of a table not far away and eating fruit. Although the palace was surrounded by a formation barrier, it could stop other people but not Tyrant Bear King. The difference in their cultivation was too great. Tyrant Bear King could completely ignore the barrier set by Lin Su. However, Lin Su felt very insecure. Who knew when this guy would come over? If he saw Lin Su doing something shameful and happy with Zizuir and his three wives, wouldn't he be able to see everything? "What are you afraid of?" "It's not like I haven't seen it before," Tyrant Bear King muttered. Seeing Lin Su staring, he quickly straightened his expression and said, "The space transmission node has been discovered." "What?" Lin Su screamed, then hurriedly looked back and saw that the three girls Zizhou seemed to be sleeping without any signs of being awakened. Then he breathed a sigh of relief, raised his hand to put up a soundproof barrier and asked. "What's the situation?" "Don't worry, although the space teleportation node set up by me, Grandpa Xiang, has been discovered, the person who discovered it is not strong enough to crack it, so knowing it is useless," Tyrant Bear King chuckled. Lin Su breathed a sigh of relief, then frowned slightly, thought for a moment and said, "I'm afraid Tianzong or Daozong has arrived, or even both of them are here." Apart from Tianzong and Daozong, Lin Su really couldn't think of anyone else from Tiandaozong who could discover the space barrier set by Tyrant Bear King. "Dong Hua, go and inform all the disciples that you are not allowed to use the space teleportation node to go out without the instructions of this section. Anyone who violates this will be expelled from the Dragon Valley and will never be used again." Shi Donghua, who was practicing, received the message from Lin Su, although he felt a little bit in his heart. Confused, but not daring to delay at all, he immediately called his guards over and asked them to pass on the orders of the Lord. What Tiandaozong can do is probably to guard the space transmission node in the dense forest of death. As long as our people don't go out. Lin Su touched his chin and thought for a while and said slowly, "With Tianzong and Daozong, I'm afraid they won't retreat so easily. I guess they will force a breakthrough from the blood pool. There is no need to estimate. There is something strange in the barrier over the blood pool. I am afraid that the people of Tiandao sect have already fought against the remnant soul of the Blood Demon Lord." The Overlord Bear King blinked at Lin Su. "Boy, do you want to go and see it? A good show." "That's what I meant," Lin Su smiled. This kind of drama of sitting on a mountain and watching a tiger fight was the most enjoyable thing to see. He wanted to see the strength of Tianzong and Daozong. Swish. Swish. Two figures, one large and one small, disappeared directly and appeared at the entrance of the spiritual field space. After leaving the spiritual field space, they flashed several times and rushed towards the blood pool. Passing through the barrier set up by the tyrant bear king and entering the blood pool, a raging wind rushed towards my face. I saw several figures fighting fiercely in the blood pool in front of me. The violent force almost lifted the entire blood pool. Turned over. Sure enough, both Tianzong and Daozong are here. Lin Su and Tyrant Bear King hid in the barrier space opened by Tyrant Bear King, watching the fight between Tianzong, Daozong, and the Blood Demon Master's remnant soul. Contest. In terms of pure power, although the Blood Demon Master's remnant soul has been sucked away a lot of power by the barrier set by the Tyrant Bear King, it still has an absolute upper hand compared to Tianzong and Daozong. It's just that this guy now only has with a trace of his remnant soul, his mind is incomplete, and he relies entirely on instinct to fight. He can only exert 1/10 of his strength. Although Tianzong and Daozong are not as powerful as the Blood Demon Master's remnant soul, their combat skills and combat experience are much higher. They can always seize the weaknesses of the Blood Demon Master's attacks and defeat them, but they are also it can only be defeated. It seems unrealistic to completely defeat the remaining soul of the Blood Demon Lord. The current situation between the two sides is that they are fighting a war of attrition, but the situation is obviously unfavorable to Tianzong and Daozong. The Blood Demon Lord is backed by the blood pool and can be continuously replenished. Although this is at the expense of the consumption of the blood pool, it is not an easy task to drain this entire pool of blood and water energy. They will definitely not be able to break through the blood pool in the short term. After watching the battle for a while, Lin Su definitely came to the conclusion. Not long after he finished speaking, Tianzong and Daozong worked together to launch a move to repel the remaining soul of the Blood Demon Master. Finally, he quickly retreated away from the blood pool. Go back. There is nothing to worry about. Tianzong and Daozong are indeed powerful, but the two of them can only fight to a tie with the Blood Demon Master's remnant soul at best. With the blood pool blocking the way, Long Island can be said to be as stable as Mount Tai. As long as the disciples of Longgu can practice on the island peacefully and do not go out, Tiandao sect will not be able to threaten them at all. Lin Su and Tyrant Bear King returned to the spirit field space, and Tianzong and Daozong also left the jungle of death and returned to Pingyang City. The faces of Tianzong and Daozong were quite gloomy. Before setting off, they never expected such a result. They were actually stopped by an unknown blood pool monster. They could not even see the sex station in Dragon Valley. This is a big blow to the arrogant Tianzong and Daozong. Not to mention that when they fought against the Blood Demon Lord Remnant Soul, they were still 1, 2, and 1 against 1. Even so, they didn't gain any advantage. This was simply a great shame. Could it be that the space teleportation node in the jungle of death was set up by the monster in the blood pool? No. Although the monster is powerful, it is obviously insane and only has bloodthirsty instincts. How could it be possible to set up such an exquisite space teleportation node? Tianzong's mind was spinning, but he couldn't figure it out. If the space teleportation node has nothing to do with the monsters in the blood pool, then the master who can set up the space node must be in the Dragon Valley. Based on Tianzong's understanding of the space avenue, it is naturally clear that if you want to set up a space transmission node, you must personally visit the location of the node and record the space coordinates. Otherwise, who knows where the node will be set up? In other words, someone in Dragon Valley once reached the core area inside Ghost Valley through the blood pool, and then set up a space transmission node. If you want to pass through the blood pool, you will definitely not be able to avoid the monsters in the blood pool. If you are less powerful, you may have become one of the endless corpses in the blood pool. There must be a terrifying existence in Dragon Valley that is not as powerful as the blood pool monster. Suddenly realizing this, Tianzong was shocked and looked up at Daozong, only to see that the other party was also shocked, and obviously thought of this. Seeing that Tianzong and Daozong had different expressions, Tianzi Wangsheng and Daozai Situnan felt a little strange. After thinking about it carefully, they couldn't help but be horrified. There must be no fools who can sit in their positions. They can think of what Tianzong and Daozong can think of. At that moment, cold sweat broke out from their foreheads. Today's events must not be spread. Daozong glanced at everyone with a cold look. Everyone in the room who was swept by his eyes felt a bone-chilling chill. Apart from nodding and agreeing, how could they dare to have other opinions? My two adults, I have sent people to guard the space transmission point at the entrance of the Death Forest. As long as the Dragon Valley monk appears, he can be taken down immediately, Daozai Situnan said. Bastard! As soon as Situnan's words came out, Wang Sheng's eyes flashed with anger. He was careless and was beaten to the punch by the other party. Damn it! If he spoke again at this time, he would be suspected of competing for credit. Wang Sheng could only suppress his dissatisfaction and secretly think about how to break the current deadlock. Well done, Daozong looked at Daozai Situnan with appreciation, nodded, and then turned his eyes to Tianzong. Try again to see if you can pass the blood pool. If it doesn't work, you can only use that. The cost of using that is too high. We must first confirm whether there is really an existence of the same level as the blood pool monster in the Dragon Valley. Tianzong shook his head. They can't be sure whether there is really an existence in the Dragon Valley that is not inferior to the blood pool monster. It is hard to say what the result will be if Tian Daozong's foundation is rashly deployed. It is very likely that the gains will not outweigh the losses. Daozong only said this. He naturally knew the consequences of using his background. It would be good if he could take Dragon Valley. If he couldn't, the loss to Tian Daozong would be too great. Take a rest for 2 days and go explore again. This time we only want to pass the blood pool, and don't have to fight the monster head-on. Dantian has a little field. Author, The Magic Orb Zoo. Chapter 315. 3 days later, Tianzong and Daozong once again walked through the dense forest of death to the entrance of the blood pool. At their level, the impact of the illusion was minimal. In addition, they were well prepared, and they escaped from the illusion with just a slight shake of their bodies. Diamond suit, diamond suit, diamond suit. Go through the blood pool with all your strength later, and don't tangle with that evil beast, Tianzong said in a deep voice, and then stepped into the blood pool with Daozong. As for Elder Bai, Emperor Wangsheng and Daozai Situnan, they stayed outside the blood pool. They did not have the strength of the two Tiandao sections. They had no ability to protect themselves against the crazy blood demon master remnant soul, let alone rush through the blood pool. Crash. As soon as Tianzong and Daozong stepped into the blood pool, they attracted the attention of the blood demon master's remnant soul. Its huge body rose into the sky from the blood pool, and its scarlet and violent eyes on the blurred face flashed with bloodthirsty eyes. Light. Ho. As if remembering that the two people in front of him were the enemies he had fought with a few days ago, the blood demon master's remnant soul let out a shocking roar, and with a wave of his hand, he turned countless blood arrows and shot towards Tianzong and Daozong. Don't stay, go quickly. He held up a light curtain to block the invasion of blood arrows, and Daozong rushed towards the opposite side of the blood pool. The terrain of the blood pool is special, and it is also the home of the blood demon master's remnant souls. Anyone who enters it will have a sharp drop in speed. The most important thing is that the space is extremely unstable under the energy surge, and it is impossible to teleport at all, except for carrying the attack fiercely. Apart from rushing, Tianzong and Daozong didn't have any good ideas. Ho! Seeing that Tianzong and Daozong did not resist but just ran away, the blood demon master remnant soul, although not fully intelligent, vaguely understood that the other party wanted to cross the blood pool, and immediately became furious. After a wild roar, the entire blood pool began to boil. Thick pieces of blood mist evaporated from the pool, instantly covering the entire blood pool space. Tianzong and Daozong seemed to have fallen into a quagmire all of a sudden, and their speed dropped sharply, not much faster than their normal walking speed. Damn it! Daozong yelled in frustration, turned around and held up a Taiji light shield to deflect all the light arrows that flew in. At the same time, he flicked his right hand and shot out a black line that wrapped around Tianzong's waist. I blocked the attack, you open the way. Listening to Daozong's roar, Tianzong also knew that now was not the time to care about face. He also roared violently at that moment, and the strength of the Dzogchen realm in the late Mahayana period completely exploded, and the energy all over his body. The 4 shots pushed the blood mist away, and even part of the blood mist disappeared with a squeaking sound. Immortal, Chi, a hoarse yet sharp roar sounded. The contradictory feeling made people's heads feel like they were about to explode, and it was extremely uncomfortable. After the Mahayana period, the true energy in the body will gradually transform into immortal energy. When the full force is used, bursts of fairy energy will be dispersed, which is the nemesis of the blood evil energy in the blood pool. Although he is not fully intelligent, he is extremely sensitive to the spirit of the fairy. There is a hint of fear in his bloodthirsty and crazy eyes, and his offensive slows down slightly. Good opportunity, let's go. A bright light flashed in Daozong's eyes, and after a loud roar, a psychedelic avenue of light appeared behind him. It was the avenue of mystery. At the same time, he flipped his palms and a ball of light shining with strange light emerged from his palms. He shot out towards the remnant soul of the Blood Demon Lord, and quickly zoomed in to envelop it. However, he saw that the remnant soul of the Blood Demon Lord shrouded in the ball of light seemed to have suddenly turned blind and attacked all around randomly. Shooting out the attack was completely inaccurate, and the blood mist around him quickly dispersed. Taking this opportunity, Tianzong and Daozong stretched out their bodies with all their strength and rushed towards the canyon at the other end of the blood pool. Tianzong's eyes glanced at the mysterious avenue behind Daozong intentionally or unintentionally. As far as he knew, Daozong Zhonyuan should not have mastered the path of mystery. Could it be? Senior Bear King, they are about to rush over, what should we do? At this time, in the barrier on the other side of the blood pool, in a space opened by the Tyrant Bear King, Lin Su frowned and turned to his side. The Tyrant Bear King asked. When Tianzong and Daozong arrived at the blood pool, Tyrant Bear King felt it. After notifying Lin Su just like 3 days ago, the two came to watch the battle again, but this time Tianzong and Daozong changed their strategies. Look at the current situation. In this situation, it is very likely that they will rush through the blood pool, and Lin Su can't help but feel a little worried. His current cultivation level has reached the stage of great perfection in the late stage of tribulation. As long as he is willing, he can break through to the Mahayana stage at any time. However, even so, he can only block at most one of Tianzong and Daozong, and the remaining one can be in the entire Dragon Valley. No one can resist it except the Tyrant Bear King, and the Tyrant Bear King cannot appear outside the spirit field space for a long time, let alone start a fight with others. Don't worry, they can't get through. The Tyrant Bear King sat next to Lin Su. Hearing this, he reached out and scratched his feet with a calm look on his face. So sure, Lin Su squinted at the Tyrant Bear King with some doubts. Nonsense, Grandpa Bear, my barrier is not a vegetarian. Even the remnant soul of the Blood Demon Lord can't be broken, just the two of them. Oh no, the Tyrant Bear King's tone was full of disdain. Although the Demon King of the Golden Immortal level did not put much effort into setting up this barrier, it is not something that someone who is not even an immortal level can easily break. Since you, Senior Bear King, are so sure, then I have nothing to worry about, Lin Su laughed. The words of Tyrant Bear King undoubtedly gave him reassurance. Just as Lin Su was talking to Tyrant Bear King, Tianzong and Daozong had already rushed to the exit of the blood pool, with joyful smiles on their faces. Suddenly, a colorful light flashed in front of their eyes, and the two of them were thrown back as if they had hit an invisible wall of air. There is a barrier, damn, Tianzong's body shook and stabilized his retreat. His face changed wildly and he couldn't help but swear. Daozong's face was as black as the bottom of a pot. He was about to cross the blood pool. Which wicked ghost actually set up a barrier here? This is too deceptive, isn't it? Roar! Roar! The roar of the blood demon master's residual soul behind him became louder and louder. Daozong's face was almost distorted in anxiety. This beast is too powerful, and he can't be trapped. Tianzong was gloomy and silent, and the spells in his hands changed. One after another, the seals shot out from his hands and hit the transparent barrier, causing layers of ripples. No, the person who set up the barrier is too clever, I can't break it. After a while, Tianzong stopped helplessly. The barrier in front of him was so powerful and complex that he had never seen it before. He really didn't expect that there would be such a master of formation in the spiritual world. Not to mention that time is limited now. Even if he was given 10 days or half a month to concentrate on research, he didn't dare to say that he was absolutely sure to break the barrier. Brother Zhang, let's go quickly. We can't get through this barrier. Staying here will only waste our Taoist power in vain. Tianzong was able to reach his current position not by just doing it recklessly. After assessing the situation, he quickly made a decision. After calling Daozong beside him, he turned around and flew back the way he came. Damn it, Daozong cursed in a low voice, and turned to run back the way he came. Just as the two of them rushed out of the blood pool, the Dao Force light ball behind them that trapped the residual soul of the Blood Demon Lord burst open. The residual soul of the Blood Demon Lord escaped from it and let out a shocking roar, but did not chase after the blood pool. After venting for a while, it sank into the blood pool and returned to calm. Damn it! Failed at the last hurdle. In the backyard of the Pingyang City Lord's mansion, Daozong, who was still furious, smashed the stone table in front of him into pieces with a palm. The surrounding Tiandao sect disciples, including Tianzi Wangsheng and Daozai Situnan, were all as quiet as cicadas. Everyone could see that the boss was in a rage. Whoever spoke at this time would be unlucky. Compared to this, our sect is more interested in who set up the barrier at the exit of the blood pool. Tianzong, who was sitting opposite Daozong, waved his hand and rolled up a whirlwind to blow away the stone powder, and said with narrowed eyes. Tianzong's words made Daozong's angry expression freeze, and he lowered his head to think. Because of the special mechanism of Tiandao sect, Tianzong and Daozong have always been in a competitive relationship of both enemies and friends. However, Daozong has always been inferior to Tianzong in terms of space and formations. The person who set up the barrier that made Tianzong helpless must be extraordinary. If the person who set up this barrier is the same person who set up the space transmission node in the Death Forest, then the strength of Longgu must be re-estimated. Someone who can surpass Tianzong in both the way of space and the way of formations has never appeared in the spirit world before, and it is impossible to appear in theory. After all, Tianzong can be said to have stood at the top of the entire spirit world, unless it is the immortal in the legend. This thought flashed through Daozong's mind, making his hair stand up involuntarily. Immortals, that only exist in the immortal world, how could they appear in the spirit world? It's not that there haven't been immortals in the spirit world, but that was in the ancient times when the spirit world and the human world were not yet separated. Since the great changes in the world, the spatial laws of the spirit world can no longer bear the strong bodies and unparalleled immortal energy of the immortals, and the immortals and the immortal world have gradually become legends. No one knows what the immortal world is like, because there is no immortal who has ascended to the immortal world and then appeared in the immortal world, and no one knows what kind of destructive energy the real immortals have. Could it be that the law that has existed for tens of thousands of years has been broken? There are immortals in the small Dragon Valley. Tianzong and Daozong looked at each other and saw the solemnity in each other's eyes. If the guess is true, then Dragon Valley is not something that can be easily provoked. But the people of Dragon Valley are now hiding, and they can't be sure whether there are immortals among them. Daozong waved his fist in annoyance, and Tianzong also frowned. They all found one thing very strange, that is, if there really was an immortal in the Dragon Valley, why did they just set up a barrier for defense instead of taking the initiative to attack? If the immortal took action, let alone Tianzong and Daozong, even if Xianxia Palace, Tiandao sect, and all the Mahayana cultivators in the entire spiritual world came together, it would probably be useless. Why didn't they take action? No matter how hard Tianzong and Daozong thought, they could not imagine that all this was because of Lin Su, an anomaly, who actually had a spiritual field space with his own world and his own heavenly way, which could allow a demon king like Tyrant Bear King who had reached the golden immortal realm to survive in it. It is precisely because Tyrant Bear King cannot leave the spiritual field space for a long time and appear in the spiritual world, so Lin Su did not let Tyrant Bear King take action, so as not to attract the attention of the spiritual world's heavenly Dao and bring down heavenly punishment. After all, if he fights with masters of the late Mahayana and great perfection realms such as Tianzong and Daozong, Tyrant Bear King will inevitably have to use immortal level power, and in this case he will definitely not escape the detection of the spiritual world's heavenly Dao. Although the immortal has the power to destroy the heaven and the earth, it is still far behind compared with the first realm of heaven. What's more, the Tyrant Bear King is only a golden immortal, far from reaching the level of a saint or even a master who can truly ignore the reincarnation of heaven. Surround Gigo first. After a long silence, Tianzong gave an order, and then waved everyone to exit. Only Tianzong and Daozong were left in the entire backyard. Brother Zhang, I'm afraid we really have to use that thing this time, at least to force out the true strength of Longwu, Tianzong said lightly as he raised his head and looked at the sky. Upon hearing this, Daozong's pupils first opened, then suddenly retracted. He narrowed his eyes slightly and remained silent for a moment, then nodded heavily. Regardless of whether there is an immortal level powerhouse in Dragon Valley, Tianzong and Daozong must find out the background of Tiandaozong. Only in this way can the true strength of Dragon Valley be determined. Otherwise, there is such a sect that is suspected of having an immortal backing. If the door exists, everyone will feel like a light on their backs, right? This sect feels that it is necessary to inform Xianxia Palace about this matter. We can't let old ghost Xianxia just sit back and watch the fun, right? Daozong suddenly showed a smirk on his lips. Well, this sect has already asked Wang Sheng to spread the news. I'm afraid that old ghost Xianxia can't sit still anymore and is rushing over here, right? Tianzong raised his eyebrows when he heard this, and his tone of voice was incomprehensible. What kind of emotion made Daozong frown slightly? This guy is still the same as before, wilting and bad. Gigo has been trapped by Tiandao sect for more than 3 years. Because of Lin Su's order, no one in the entire Dragon Valley has ever left. More than 3 years is nothing to a cultivator. It would be much longer to just retreat for a while, but in this situation of being surrounded by others and not even being able to hear about the outside world. Now, most people practice with one mind in mind, and it's hard to keep their mind focused on nothing else. Among the people in Dragon Valley, only Zhang Yunfan and Jade Rakshasa Shen Baiun have broken through to the early stage of Mahayana. Shen Baiun has already reached the late stage of transcending tribulation very early. The reason why he has not been able to break through is because of his ghost body. Now Zhang Yunfan has, with the combination of dual cultivation, the ghost body quickly transformed into a semi-immortal body under the fusion of yin and yang. The two of them broke through to the early stage of Mahayana almost at the same time. As for the progress of others, it is really limited. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Dantian has a little field. Author, The Magic Orb Zoo. Chapter 316. The bald man Tianyuan, Yewuji, Patriarch Xiang, Yanluo and Zizuer have all reached the late stage of transcending the tribulation, and most of the others have also reached the middle stage of transcending the tribulation. Their strength has naturally improved, but with Zhang Yunfan, Jade Raxhasa Shenbiun in comparison, it seems not so impressive. As for Lin Su, he is still in the great perfection of the late stage of tribulation, without any progress. However, even Zhang Yunfan and Shen Biun, who have reached the early stage of Mahayana, feel a faint sense of oppression when facing Lin Su. Lin Su, although his cultivation has stagnated, his strength has not fallen behind at all. The number of monks besieging Ghost Valley has increased a lot. In addition to the original monks from Tiandao sect, monks from Xiushan Temple have also joined in. The entire Ghost Valley is surrounded by water. Lin Su recently went out to investigate, and based on those the monk's strength would naturally prevent him from discovering his whereabouts, but it would be difficult to tell if it were the other people in Long Valley. I don't know how Tianzong and Daozong persuaded Xiushan Palace. Lin Su found that the force sent by Xiushan Palace was not weaker than that of Tiandaozong. Even the master of Xiushan Palace, Tian Suzi, came to Pingyang City. However, as if he was preparing something, he did not immediately attack Long with the Tiandao second sect. Lin Su didn't dare to get too close to check. After all, both Tian Suzi and Tiandao sect had reached the great perfection in the late Mahayana period, so it was hard to say that they would not be discovered by the other party. Are these bastards so idle? Why are you fighting with me, Dragon Valley? Damn it, if you piss me off, I'll let the tyrant Bear King take over your lair. Lin Su's original intention was to let Tiandao sect see the power of Longwu, knowing that they had no choice but to obtain Longwu, and thereby acquiescing to Longwu becoming the third largest sect in the spiritual world. In Lin Su's opinion, as long as Tiandaozong acquiesced to this fact, if you think about it, there won't be many troubles in Xiushan Palace. It's just that the progress of the matter seems to be different from what Lin Su expected. Tiandaozong didn't know why he went crazy. It seemed that he was at odds with Longwu. It was clear that he couldn't attack, but he just didn't retreat. This was good, and he still managed to. Xiushan Palace was brought in. Lin Su was wondering if he had been too friendly before. If it didn't work, he would try to make Tyrant Bear King suffer the punishment from heaven, but he would also show Tiandao sect and Xiushan Palace how powerful they were. At worst, let Tyrant bear the punishment when it came. The Sky Bear King hid in the spirit field space. It was impossible for punishment Tribulation Lay to chase him into the spirit field space that day, right? Just when Lin Su was gradually losing his patience, the endurance of the second Tiandao sect and Tian Suzi also reached the limit. In fact, as early as a year ago, the Tianzong and the Dao sect brought the secrets of the Tiandao sect the immortal artifact Haoshan Mirror. In Pingyang City, Tian Suzi also brought out the Xiushan Cauldron, the fairy weapon of Xiushan Palace, and the preparations needed to activate the fairy weapon had been made. The reason why they haven't launched it yet is because they are afraid of the immortals who are very likely to exist in Dragon Valley. On the one hand, if they don't use the immortal weapons, they will not be able to break through the barrier set by the Tyrant Bear King, but on the other hand, once they use it, as for the immortal weapon, let alone the huge resource consumption required to activate the immortal weapon, there is no room for relaxation between the Dragon Valley and the immortal weapon. It's okay if there are no immortals in Dragon Valley by then. If there are immortals in charge, it will be a huge disaster for Tiandao sect and Xiushan Palace. After all, although the immortal weapons are powerful, they are still not as good as real immortals, let alone immortals. The weapon can only exert its true power in the hands of immortals, and they can just barely activate it. And now that both Tiandao sect and Xianxia palace have brought the immortal weapons, who uses them first and who uses them last is another question. Obviously, the one who uses the immortal weapons first will definitely suffer. Because of this, the two sides have been arguing. There was a stalemate and it dragged on for a year. But it seems that it can't be delayed any longer. After all, such a large group of people around Pingyang City and the Death Forest consume a lot of money every day, not to mention that if it continues like this, it will affect the reputation of Tiandao sect and Xianxia palace. There is great damage. Tiansuzi, we can't delay it any longer. We must take action. Just tomorrow, let's break the barrier together. Tianzong and Daozong invited Tiansuzi over and proposed to work together to break the barrier through the blood pool. Suggestion. You two, would you like to think about it again? Tiansuzi was still hesitant. If we think about it any further, the prestige of our two major sects will be completely wiped out. Now everyone in Longgu has shrunk. They can afford it and we can't afford it. Tianzong shook his head. Tiansuzi, you brought so many people here just to hang out, right? Daozong snorted coldly. Tiansuzi was silent for a while, then said, according to what you said, the monsters in the blood pool are extremely powerful. When the time comes, which of our two sects will use the immortal weapon first? Let's do it together. Destroy the blood pool monster first and then slowly break the barrier. With the combined power of our two factions' magical weapons, I believe it shouldn't be difficult to destroy the blood pool monster. Dragon Island, in the spirit field space. I guess Tiandao sect and Xianxia palace can't survive. I have a feeling that they will take action in the next few days. The higher the cultivation level, the stronger the ability to sense crises. Although he went out to investigate not long ago and did not find out any special actions of Tiandao sect and Xianxia temple, Lin Su has always had a frightening feeling in the past 2 days. I guess the other party couldn't bear it anymore. Just act, there is nothing to be afraid of. Our Dragon Valley is not a soft persimmon, anyone can pinch it if they want. Zhang Yunfan waved his hand fiercely and said, when soldiers come, we will block it, and when water comes, the soil will cover us up. After Zhang Yunfan's cultivation broke through to the early stage of Mahayana, his confidence greatly increased, especially when he and Jade Rakshasa Shenbaiun merged into a dual cultivation, and they had already connected with each other. If the couple joined forces, their combat power would increase several times, and they would have to block the Tianzong and Daozong. Or the words of one of Tiansuzi are not a problem. Although Zhang Yunfan didn't know the extent of Lin Su's current strength, he thought it wouldn't be a problem to block one of the three. What's more, there was also the tyrant Bear King sitting in charge, so there was really nothing to worry about. When Zhang Yunfan said this in detail, Lin Su was also a little stunned. Yes, Dragon Valley has developed to the current level without knowing it. In terms of high-end combat power, it is no less inferior to Tiandao sect and Xianxia palace. However, super sects like Tiandao sect and Xianxia palace, which have dominated the spiritual world for many years, must have considerable foundation. I don't know what kind of methods they have, so we must guard against these. No matter what, we can't take it lightly. Lin Su looked at the tyrant Bear King who was holding a roasted pig and munching wildly. He hugged his fists and said, Senior Bear King, please work more hard. Put up a few more barriers around the island to prevent any unexpected events. The tyrant Bear King did not speak, but just stretched out a finger. Lin Su couldn't help but laugh a little. This greedy demon bear is really a foodie. He never forgets to eat. Those who don't know think that like the earth spirit pig, he has mastered the way of eating. 10 tables of banquets, no problem. When the people from Tiandao sect and Xianxia palace retreat, I will buy even 100 tables of banquets for you, Senior Bear King. Brother, I want it too, the Tuliang pig on the side, whose mouth was also full of oil, interrupted. Okay, I won't forget your share. But don't be lazy and help me coordinate the 5 elements of spiritual power. Lin Su rolled his eyes at the Earth Spirit Pig in a funny way. As his contracted beast, the Earth Spirit Pig and the spiritual field space, the origins of the 5 elements have basically been integrated into one. The mastery of Tian space does not need to be much different from that of Lin Su. In other words, the relationship between Tulingzu and Lin Su is no longer as simple as equal contract partners. The origins of the two have long been linked together. When one is prosperous, both are prosperous, and when one is deprived, both are deprived. The tyrant Bear King went to set up a barrier, and Lin Su's, Zhang Yunfan and other senior officials of Longgu gathered the disciples of Longgu together and informed everyone of the possible attack by the two sects. Sect Master, we will fight them. We at Dragon Valley are not easy to bully. If they dare to come, let them have a taste of our power. Sect Master, we have endured it for more than 3 years. What about Tiandao sect? Xianxia Palace has nothing to be afraid of. Let them see the power of our Dragon Valley. What pleased Lin Su and others was that the Longgu disciples did not show the slightest timidity or fear, but instead had high morale. After 3 years of latent cultivation, coupled with the support of massive cultivation resources, the cultivation strength of Longgu disciples has undergone earth-shaking changes. Because Longgu has always followed the elite route, among the more than 2,000 disciples in the valley now, those with the lowest cultivation level are all above the nascent soul stage, more than 800 above the divine transformation stage, and more than 200 above the fusion stage. This strength is not weaker than Tiandao sect or Xianxia Palace. This sect is very pleased that everyone has such fighting spirit. However, this sect wants to tell you, don't show off your anger. This is Dragon Valley and our territory. We don't need to fight head-on with the people of Tiandao sect and Xianxia Palace. That's fine if they don't come. If they really dare to come, use the combined attack formation taught by Lord Xiong to give us a hard beating. Yes, Sect Master. Tyrant Bear King is not proficient in formations, but his knowledge of cultivation is there. If he just picks up a set of combined attack formations, it is the top level in the spiritual world. The name of the combined attack formations that Lin Su mentioned it is the 9 Dragon Soaring formation that can combine everyone's power, the energy gathered into the energy of 9 true dragons, combined with the original dragon energy of the Dragon Island, is very powerful. Moreover, this formation does not limit the number of people. The more people in the formation, the greater the power. Lin Su spent a lot of time. The lips and tongue were obtained from the Tyrant Bear King. The disciples of Dragon Valley all know that there is a Xiongzun in Dragon Valley. He is a genuine immortal with unfathomable strength. The sect protecting formation of Dragon Valley and the formation barrier at the exit of the blood pool are all made of the Xiongzun. The reason why the people of Tiandao sect were blocked from the Dragon Valley for 3 years was because they could not break through Xiongzun's barrier. With Lord Xiong in charge of Dragon Valley, coupled with the wise and powerful sect masters and elders, the disciples of Dragon Valley are much more confident than the sect master Lin Su. Perhaps this is the fearlessness of the ignorant. The less you know, the more confidence you have in your heart. There will be less worries and fears. Lin Su and the others were making preparations, and Tiandao sect and Xianxia Palace finally started to take action. Led by Tiandao Second Sect and Tian Suzi, the monks from Tiandao sect and Xianxia Palace followed closely behind, heading towards the blood pool in a mighty manner. Then, a passage dozens of feet wide was opened in the dense forest of death. Facts have proved that the so-called Jedi are not unreachable, but they are not strong enough or the price paid is not enough. Under the crushing power of Tiandao sect and Xianxia Palace, the jungle of death has turned into a smooth road, which is just a waste of time. In just 3 days. You wait here, you are not allowed to enter without my order. Having fought twice with the Blood Demon Lord Remnant Soul, I know very well that the opponent's powerful Tian Zone cannot be matched by relying on the tactics of a sea of people. The endless corpses in the blood pool are the best proof. Even the more people there are, the more powerful the Tianzong is. The more difficult it is to deal with, because the remnant soul of the Blood Demon Lord can absorb power from the creatures that have fallen into the blood pool at any time. If you really bring your disciples into the blood pool, it will be tantamount to siding with the enemy. Xianxia had never fought with the remnant soul of the Blood Demon Lord, and was not sure how powerful the other party was, but this did not prevent him from making the right choice, and he also gave the same order to the monks of Xianxia Palace. Xianxia, let's go. Daozong took the lead and walked into the blood pool. Sensing that there were living creatures entering, the blood in the blood pool boiled, and the remnant soul of the Blood Demon Lord rushed out of the pool. Roar. It is said that when enemies meet, they are particularly jealous. Although the remnant soul of the Blood Demon Lord is not fully intelligent, it still has the basic ability to recognize people and things. It recognized Tianzong and Daozong at a glance, and was immediately furious. The whole blood pool rolled up, and the countless corpses in it quickly piled up together to form a huge skeleton beast, which slapped Tianzong and Daozong with one palm. At the same time, the blood-colored palm waved, and countless blood arrows shot towards the remaining Xianxia. Bold beast. The Blood Demon Master's residual soul was so powerful that Xianxia's face changed drastically. However, as the master of Xianxia Palace, he had never taken anyone else in the entire spiritual world seriously except Tianzong and Daozong. How could he show his cowardice in front of the Blood Demon Master's residual soul? He roared, and a long sword shining with blue-purple lightning appeared in his hand. He slashed at the blood arrows in the sky. Wherever the sword light passed, electric snakes danced wildly, and the blood arrows broke apart and turned into green smoke and disappeared. However, the blood arrows were continuously generated from the blood pool. Although Xianxia's sword energy and lightning were powerful, they could only protect themselves. Sacrifice the immortal weapon, otherwise we can't beat this beast. The skeleton beast had been broken up several times by the joint efforts of Tianzong and Daozong, but it reorganized again, and it was impossible to kill it. Tianzong and Daozong looked at each other and roared, and sacrificed an ancient silver-white Bagua mirror. The mirror light was like water, instantly covering the entire blood pool. The giant skeleton beast was illuminated by the mirror light, and it quickly melted and disintegrated like winter snow encountering the early sun, and disappeared in an instant. Roar. The remaining soul of the Blood Demon Lord also emitted bursts of green smoke, and his mouth let out a shrill roar, and his body seemed to be frozen and unable to move. Xianxia, what are you waiting for, old ghost? Why don't you quickly sacrifice the Xianxian Ding? Dantian has a little field. Author, The Magic Orb Zoo. Chapter 317. The Haotian mirror is powerful, but with the strength of the two Tiandao sects, even if it consumes a lot of resources to practice for a long time, it can only exert less than half of its power. It can only immobilize the body of the Blood Demon Master's remnant soul. The Taoist sect can't help but yelled. Xianxia also knew that this was not the time to hide his secrets. Hearing this, he pursed his lips and stretched out his hand to sacrifice a simple bronze cauldron. The mouth of the cauldron was facing downwards, and its powerful attraction shrouded the remnant soul of the Blood Demon Lord. Ho! In its heyday, not to mention just two immortal weapons, even the Chaos Artifact Blood Demon could compete with one or two. But it is different now. Yudao is like a dragon swimming in shallow water and being tricked by a shrimp, a tiger falling flat and being bullied by a dog, and a successful Mao Erxian. Compared to a tiger, a fallen phoenix is not as good as a chicken. The Blood Demon Lord now only has a trace of his soul left. The strength he can exert is not even at the immortal level, and he cannot withstand the power of the immortal weapon at all. In the roar of the sky, the huge body of the Blood Demon Master's remnant soul was sucked in by the Xianxian cauldron. The Xianxian cauldron suddenly enlarged, then shrank, then enlarged, and then shrunk. Obviously, the Xianxian cauldron alone was not enough to suppress the refining process. The blood-transforming demon dominates the remnant soul, and it is very likely that it will break through the restrictions of the Xianxia cauldron and break out. Quickly use the Haotian mirror to suppress it together, Xianxia yelled in panic. He could feel that the immortal artifact Xianxia cauldron was about to collapse. If the remaining soul of the blood demon lord struggled to hit it, let alone destroy it. If he is trapped and killed, even Xianxia cauldron will be damaged. Tianzong and Daozong looked at each other and worked together to activate the Haotian mirror. The mirror light that originally radiated the entire blood pool converged into a beam and shot towards the Xianxia cauldron. With the cooperation of Tianxia, the mirror light had no hindrance. The ground shot in from the mouth of the Xianxia cauldron. The Xianxia cauldron, which was constantly expanding and shrinking, was stabilized by the help of the mirror light. Only the roar of the remnant soul of the blood demon lord could be heard from the mouth of the cauldron. In addition, from the mouth of the cauldron, dots of red light kept floating up, turning into blue smoke and dissipating in the mirror light. Finally, this evil beast was suppressed. Tianzong let out a long breath. But it will take some time to completely kill it. Daozong glanced at the exit of the blood pool in the distance and narrowed his eyes slightly. It doesn't matter, let's take it slow step by step. We'll deal with this evil beast first. Tianxia is still frightened by the terror of the blood demon master's remnant soul. Even the Xianxia cauldron can't suppress him. If it weren't for the help of the Haotian mirror, the immortal weapon of the Xianxia palace was about to be damaged in his hands. Such a terrifying monster, unless the two factions join forces to kill it, if it escapes, it would be extremely difficult to trap the opponent again. Tianxia is right. Let's deal with the blood pool monster first, and then we can easily break the barrier, Tianzong said. Although Daozong was eager to break through the barrier and invade the Dragon Valley, he also knew that one bite would not make him fat. Everything had to be done step by step. He could only endure it and activate the Haotian mirror to help the Xianxia cauldron refine blood. The devil dominates the remaining souls. Within the barrier at the exit of the blood pool, in the temporary space opened by the Tyrant Bear King, Lin Su, Tyrant Bear King, Zhang Yunfan and Jade Raxhasa Shen Baiun were watching the scene from a distance. As expected of these two super sects, they really have profound knowledge and can even bring out immortal weapons. It seems that if this continues, the remnant soul of the blood demon lord will really be destroyed by them, Lin Su said with sighs and worries. After all, if the remnant soul of the blood demon master is really destroyed by the three people of Tianzong, then it will be Longgu's turn next. Looking at their current appearance, suppressing the remnant soul of the blood demon lord is already the limit. As long as we rush out at this time, we will definitely catch them off guard. Zhang Yunfan narrowed his eyes. My husband is right, Jade Raxhasa Shen Baiun nodded. Lin Su glanced at the cold-looking Shen Baiun and Zhang Yunfan with a somewhat surprised look. Sister Shen, who had always been cold, actually took the initiative to agree with Zhang Yunfan. It seemed that this confirmed that the couple were actually different. Senior Bear King, what do you think? Lin Su looked at Tyrant Bear King and said. That's not necessary. Tyrant Bear King rolled his eyes indifferently and said, those two immortal weapons are good, just the opportunity to get rid of the blood demon master's remnant soul. Immortal weapons cannot be used casually. Senior Bear King, what do you mean? Lin Su's eyes lit up. Does Tyrant Bear King mean that the two immortal weapons of the Tianzong trio cannot be used again in a short time? Seeing the Tyrant Bear King nodding his head, Lin Su was completely relieved. Since the immortal weapon cannot be used again in a short time, there is nothing to be afraid of. As long as the opponent cannot use the immortal weapon, with the current strength of Longwu, he can wait for work. There is no fear of the two coalition forces in the home battle. What's more, there is also the Tyrant Bear King. Even if they don't take action, the identity of the Golden Immortal Master is a big shock to the three people of Tianzong. No one noticed that there was a hint of fear in the eyes of the Tyrant Bear King when he looked at the Haotian mirror and the Xianxia cauldron, but it was extremely hidden. Others did not know the origins of those two immortal weapons, but the Tyrant Bear King, it is extremely clear that those are the most successful imitations of the two chaos artifacts, and they are much more powerful than ordinary immortal artifacts. With the strength of the Tyrant Bear King, he can only set up formations to slowly consume the power of the Blood Demon Master's remaining soul, and dare not directly kill him. Of course, this is also due to concerns about natural punishment, but it also indirectly explains the Blood Demon Master's power. The difficulty of remnant souls. Such a being with such a vitality that defies the heavens is now trapped by the combined force of these two immortal weapons, and will face the end of completely disappearing. It is conceivable how powerful these two immortal weapons are. This is why the Tyrant Bear King does not. The reason why I suggest taking action now is that it is safer to wait until the immortal weapon has completely refined and killed the remaining soul of the Blood Demon Lord and cannot activate it again. The vitality of the Blood Demon Overlord's residual soul was much stronger than everyone expected. The process that was originally expected to be completely refined in 3 days was extended by 2 times, and it took a full 10 days to completely complete the refining. During this process, Tiandao sect and Xianxia Palace had to set up an altar in the blood pool, and continuously sacrifice the resources that supported the operation of the immortal weapon to provide energy. Tianzong, Daozong, and Tianxia looked like they were seriously injured. It was a heavy burden for them to activate the immortal weapon for such a long time, even with the sacrifice of a large amount of resources. When they sensed that the Blood Demon Overlord's residual soul in the Xianxia Ding was completely wiped out and refined, Tianzong, Daozong and Tianxia suddenly collapsed. The Haoshan mirror turned into a stream of light and drilled into Tianzong's body, and the Xianxia Ding also instantly lost its brilliance and drilled into Tianxia's body. Master, Palace Master, are you okay? The disciples of Tiandao sect and Xianxia Palace hurried forward to ask, but saw that Tiandao II sect and Tianxia looked exhausted and pale. Rest here, no, retreat to Pingyang City first, and come back to break the barrier another day, Tianzong panted and said. In his current state, let alone breaking the barrier, he could not defeat any disciple in the tribulation period. Fortunately, the residual soul of the Blood Demon Lord has been removed. As long as he rests for a while and recovers his strength, he can break the barrier again. Tianxia also planned the same thing, and ordered the monks of Xianxia Palace to evacuate back to Pingyang City to rest, but as soon as their order was issued, a sarcastic voice rang out, "The 3 sect masters have come from afar, and my Dragon Valley has not yet fulfilled its hospitality. Why are you in such a hurry to leave?" Lin Su. It was Lin Su who spoke. Tianzong and Daozong were very familiar with Lin Su's voice. They were suddenly startled when they heard it. They looked up and saw 4 figures appearing at the exit of the canyon from the blood pool in the distance. One of them was the leader of Dragon Valley, Lin Su, the former Tiandao sect's land master. Looking at the appearance of Lin Su and the other 4, it is obvious that they have been watching the battle for a long time, but they have been waiting until now to show up. Their purpose is self-evident. Lin Su, you dare to show up in front of me? Daozong was shocked and furious, and said hatefully. What are you talking about? This is my Dragon Valley's territory. Isn't it normal for me to show up? Lin Su smiled lightly, speaking of which, I would like to thank you 3 for helping me get rid of the Blood Demon Lord's residual soul, which is a thorn in my side. I would like to thank Tiandao sect and Xianxia Palace for their help. I will repay you in the future. Lin Su, you traitor, my sect values you so much, why do you want to betray the sect and establish yourself? Daozong was so angry at Lin Su's sarcastic words that his hair almost stood up. If he hadn't been seriously injured now, he really wanted to kill Lin Su immediately. Traitor? How ridiculous. I was the leader of long before I joined Tiandao section. How could I rebel and establish my own sect? Besides, it was Tiandao sect that begged me to join. As for why Dao sect valued me, you know the reason very well. I brought you 2 Dao traces from the Dao Tower and repaid your favor a long time ago. I don't owe you or Tiandao sect anything, Lin Su sneered and retorted bluntly. Linzi, why are you talking so much nonsense with them? Zhang Yunfan said, pointing at Tianzong and others. You have surrounded my Dragon Valley for 3 years. Do you really think we can't do anything to you? Today I will teach you a lesson and let you know how powerful my Dragon Valley is. Tiandao sect? Xiushan Palace? Bah! How dare you? You are just a small guard of the Earth Palace, and you dare to speak so arrogantly. Today, I will discipline you, the dog slave, for Lin Su. Before Tiandao Erzong and Tianxia spoke, Emperor Wang Sheng jumped out. Zhang Yunfan did not release his own aura. In the eyes of Emperor Wang Sheng, he was still a small guard of the Earth Palace. He was very afraid of Lin Su, but he didn't take Zhang Yunfan, a small guard, seriously. Looking for death, Zhang Yunfan's eyes flashed with coldness. He had long disliked Emperor Wang Sheng. In the past, he could not do anything about his cultivation level not being as good as the other party. Now he dared to be arrogant in front of him, looking for a beating. Husband, I will help you teach this bad-mouthed guy a lesson. Jade Raxhasa Shen Baiun and Zhang Yunfan are now as close as honey and oil. When she heard Wang Sheng insult Zhang Yunfan, her eyes were filled with murderous intent. No need, Yunur. This bastard will be taught a lesson by your husband, just watch it with peace of mind. Zhang Yunfan shook his head. He had to earn his own face, so how could he let his wife do it? He showed a reassuring smile to Jade Raxhasa Shen Baiun, and the golden longsword appeared in Zhang Yunfan's hand. The next moment, Zhang Yunfan's figure disappeared like a ghost. Wang Sheng, be careful, Tianzong's pupils shrank suddenly. With his eyesight, he could naturally see that Zhang Yunfan did not disappear, but rushed towards the Emperor Wang Sheng at a speed that was difficult to see with the naked eye, and the other party's cultivation was already in the early stage of Mahayana. What? Just as Tianzong's voice sounded, Zhang Yunfan's figure had appeared behind Wang Sheng, and the long sword in his hand slashed at Wang Sheng fiercely. Boom! Amidst the loud roar, Wang Se rolled and flew backwards. He sensed Zhang Yunfan's attack at the last moment and turned around to defend himself, but was still chopped by the unparalleled sword energy and flew out. There were several long sword marks on his arms. After he stabilized his body, he spat out a mouthful of hot blood, which was cut into pieces by the sword energy and then evaporated into bursts of green smoke. This, ahem, how is it possible? Wang Sheng looked at Zhang Yunfan, who was holding a long sword and pointing at him with disdain, with a face full of horror. Is this still the little guard of the underworld palace that he didn't take seriously at all? How did he become so strong? What emperor? A waste, Zhang Yunfan spat disdainfully. The undisguised contempt in his tone made Wang Sheng's lungs almost explode, but he could only stare at Zhang Yunfan fiercely and didn't dare to make a move. Wang Sheng is not a fool. Judging from the breath that Zhang Yunfan burst out when he made a move just now, the opponent has broken through to the early stage of Mahayana, and his combat power is terrifying, otherwise he would not be able to take even one of the opponent's moves. Longgu's strength is probably much stronger than imagined. Looking at Wang Sheng's residual appearance, Daizai Situnan was horrified and secretly glad that he was patient and didn't jump out first, otherwise it would not be Wang Sheng who was kneeling on the ground vomiting blood but him. Not only Situnan, but also the people in Tiandao sect and Xiushan Palace were in a very complicated mood at the moment. Zhang Yunfan was just a small guard of the Earth Palace in the past, but now he can easily defeat the Emperor Wang Sheng. How strong will Lin Su, the leader of Longgu sect, be? What's more, the strongest Tianzong, Daizong, and Tianxia are all very weak, and they are at a disadvantage no matter how you look at it. Lin Su, what do you want? Tianzong looked at Lin Su with complicated eyes and asked in a deep voice. What do I want? Lin Su smiled. Tianzong, Don't you think this question is ridiculous? It was you who besieged my Longwu, and now it's you who are attacking my Longwu. What do you think I want? Tianzong was silent. Daozong and Tianxia also looked constipated. Strength determines the right to speak. Now they are at a disadvantage, and their backs are really hard. Lin Su, stop beating around the bush and tell me. What do you want in exchange for letting us go? After a while, Tianzong broke the silence and said, you should know that you can't keep us here. Dantian has a little field. Author, The Magic Orb Zoo. Chapter 318. As soon as Tianzong said this, everyone's eyes were all focused on Lin Su, waiting for his reply. Linzi, what should we do? Are we really going to keep them here? Zhang Yunfan asked in a voice transmission. I do want to, Lin Su smiled helplessly, but he's right, we can't keep them here. Lin Su knew that it was no problem to defeat Tiandao sect and Xiaoxian Palace. After all, their current state was quite bad, but it would be a joke to want to keep them all here. After all, they were the two super sects in the spiritual world, and they would have some self-protection cards. Don't look at the exhausted look of Tiandao sect and Tianxia now. If they really want to fight, they may not be opponents. After all, Tyrant Bear King is restricted by the punishment of heaven and can't fight with all his strength. But if we let them go like this, it will be more troublesome to deal with them when they come back after recuperation, Zhang Yunfan said. It depends on Senior Bear King. Lin Su glanced at Tyrant Bear King and chuckled. I just want to cause trouble for Grandpa Bear, Tyrant Bear King muttered, his face full of reluctance, but he still took 2 steps forward as he was told. Tiandao sect and Tianxia looked at Tyrant Bear King in a strange way, not understanding why the black bear next to Lin Su ran out. That's right, in the eyes of the cultivators of Tiandao sect and Xiaoxian Temple, Tyrant Bear King was just Lin Su's pet beast mount, because Tyrant Bear King restrained his whole body's aura, and with their strength, they couldn't see Tyrant Bear King's true strength at all. Tyrant Bear King took 2 steps and stood in front of everyone, suddenly showing a mischievous smile on his face, and then his body shook, and an extremely terrifying momentum burst out and enveloped the entire blood pool. The disciples of Tiandao sect and Xiaoxian Temple in the entire blood pool felt like a huge mountain pressing on their heads, and they could hardly breathe. They were all scared and at a loss, and even Tiandao sect and Tianxia were not much better. Immortal, immortal, feeling the terrifying pressure like a mountain, Tianzong's face was as black as the bottom of a pot. What he was most worried about came true. There was really an immortal in the Dragon Valley, or to be more precise, a demon bear that reached the immortal level. It's over. It's really over now. With such a terrifying pressure, the other party might not just be an ordinary immortal. This time I'm really killed. Tianxia's face was pale, and he felt so aggrieved. I shouldn't have come to this muddy water earlier. Damn it. Tianzong and Daozong, 2 bastards, said that there were ancient spiritual treasures in the Dragon Valley. As long as the blood pool monsters were destroyed and the barrier was broken, they could drive straight in and destroy the Dragon Valley and divide the treasures. They didn't say that there was actually a legendary immortal in the Dragon Valley. Bastard. Damn bastard. I was killed by them. Tianxia cursed in his heart, but he couldn't say a word. The pressure from Tyrant Bear King was too terrifying. It was good enough that he could stand besides him, only Tianzong and Daozong could stand. Even Tianzi Wangsheng and Daozai Situnan were pressed to half kneel on the ground. Tianzong and Daozong were also full of bitterness at this moment. The worst situation had happened. There was really an immortal in Longwu. Damn it! Lin Su was too cunning. There was an immortal in charge and he had overwhelming power, but he kept showing weakness and waiting for the opportunity. He didn't show up until now. If they were in their prime, although they were no match for the immortals, it was not impossible for them to escape unscathed. But now, the Tyrant Bear King's pressure came and went quickly, and soon retreated like a tide. It was not that the tyrant Bear King did not want to maintain the pressure, but that the heavenly Dao had already reacted and began to investigate his position. If he continued to maintain the pressure, the heavenly punishment would probably fall immediately. Even now, he could only delay the time of the heavenly punishment. Lin boy, the heavenly punishment will come in a few minutes, you'd better hurry. The voice transmission of the tyrant Bear King made Lin Su's heart tremble. He didn't have much time left, and he had to quickly send away the people from the Heavenly Dao sect and the Void Heaven Palace. Tianzong, do you still think I can't keep you now? Lin Su walked to the side of the tyrant Bear King and looked at Tianzong and others with a proud face. He wanted to send Tianzong and others away, but he couldn't let them leave too easily, which would definitely arouse suspicion. You are so cruel. Lin Su, tell me, what do you want to let us go? Tianzong asked with a wry smile. The moment tyrant Bear King's overwhelming momentum was put away, Tianzong knew that Lin Su had no intention of keeping them, otherwise he should have let tyrant Bear King take action directly, but it was obvious that the other party would not let them leave easily, and he might have to pay some price. Tianzong is indeed a smart man, and this sect likes to chat with smart people. Lin Su smiled, and then said with a serious face, it's very simple, immediately withdraw the people who besieged my Dragon Valley, and don't embarrass my Dragon Valley disciples in the future, and recognize the identity of the third largest force in the Dragon Valley spirit world. Is that all? Tianzong breathed a sigh of relief. It was almost the same as he expected, but was it really that simple? And sure enough, it was not that simple. And you besieged my Dragon Valley for 3 years, and killed my Dragon Valley's guardian magic pet. You have to give me some compensation, right? How about this? I will suffer a little loss and leave the storage rings of the 3 of you, Lin Su said with a painful face. Damn! Would you dare not be so shameless? The 3 people from Tianzong almost yelled, your sect protecting demon pet from Dragon Valley, isn't it some kind of blood demon that dominates the remaining souls? How could a monster like that, which only knows how to kill, be subdued? Return your demon pet, your demon pet. You are just talking nonsense with your eyes open. However, none of the 3 Tianzong people said this. The current situation was that Lin Su was Daoziu and they were fish and meat. If they wanted to leave safely, they could only agree to the excessive conditions. Tianzong, Daozong, and Tiansuzi almost simultaneously took off the storage rings on their palms without hesitation and threw them towards Lin Su. We have agreed to your conditions, can we leave now? Tianzong asked. Don't worry. Did you agree? Daozong and Tiansuzi haven't expressed their stance yet. Lin Su took the storage ring and scanned it with his consciousness, then put it away with satisfaction, then glanced at Daozong and Tiansuzi and smiled lightly. Wrote. This section. This sect agrees, Daozong gritted his teeth. This sect has no objection, Tiansuzi agreed happily. If he had known that there were immortals in Dragon Valley, he would never have come to this troubled water. What is there to consider? Then please leave, we will see you off not far away. Lin Su glanced at everyone with a smile, turned around and headed towards the barrier. Let's retreat. Daozong glanced at the disappearing figures of Lin Su and the others, and gave the order to retreat with relief and some reluctance. The monks from Tiandaozong and Xiushan Temple quickly retreated out of the blood pool as if they had been granted amnesty. Boy Lin, hurry up and prepare, the punishment from heaven is coming. After passing through the barrier and entering the canyon, the Overlord Bear King directly rolled up Lin Su and the 3 of them. The next moment they arrived at Dragon Island, the Overlord Bear King's expression changed. He looked at Lin Su very seriously and said, you'd better move all the people in the linked space to prevent them from being affected. Senior Xianxia, are you saying that the heavenly punishment tribulation thunder will strike into the linked space? No, right, Lin Su's eyes widened. He had indeed considered the heavenly punishment, but he always felt that the linked space could isolate the outside world. His perception must be able to isolate the heavenly punishment tribulation thunder, but now according to the tyrant bear king's wishes, the heavenly punishment tribulation thunder cannot be isolated. Heavenly punishment is not heavenly tribulation, and it cannot be isolated by a simple space interval. The tyrant bear king shook his head and said, "It's too late to explain so much, let them all come out first." The tyrant bear king's expression and tone were very serious. Lin Su did not dare to be careless and quickly used the power of the world to move everyone in the spirit field space directly to the Dragon Island. At the same time, he moved all kinds of treasures in the spirit field space. They were all subjected to the Kinkanbagwa furnace, lest they be destroyed by the heavenly punishment tribulation thunder. After doing all this, Lin Su, Tulingzu and Tyrant Bear King entered the spirit field space, preparing to face the heavenly punishment tribulation thunder. Senior Xianxia, will the heaven punishment tribulation thunder really penetrate the space barrier and enter here, in the spirit field space? Lin Su has closed the door for the outside world to enter. If the heaven punishment tribulation thunder will really enter the spirit field space, if so, the only way is to penetrate the space barrier. However, the spirit field space has already produced the heart of heaven and has its own heaven. Will the punishment launched by the outside world not be resisted if it enters it? If the power is strong enough, it can penetrate the space barrier. The power of heaven's punishment is beyond your imagination. However, the power of the heaven's punishment tribulation thunder will be weakened when it penetrates the space barrier. Boylin, if you use this world again, if the power of heaven can offset part of its power, I will be sure that Grandpa Xiang will be able to take over. The tyrant bear king frowned. Use the power of heaven to offset it? It won't cause any damage to the spiritual field space, right? Lin Su hesitated. You brat. Grandpa Xiang, I was punished by heaven just for helping you. You guys are still thinking about whether the spiritual field space will be damaged. Could it be that your old life, Grandpa Xiang, is not as good as that of the spiritual field space? Is there any loss? The tyrant bear king was not happy when he heard this, and his bear eyes widened. This, Senior Bear King, you are overthinking it. Lin Su was a little embarrassed. I just want to understand how powerful heaven's punishment will be, so as not to be caught off guard when it comes to dealing with it. Is this really the case? The tyrant bear king looked at Lin Su suspiciously. Of course it's true, haha. Lin Su laughed dryly. Here we come, get ready. Lin Su was about to ask something more, but saw the tyrant bear king's expression change and he looked up into the sky. So fast? Lin Su was startled, and then he stared at the sky. He felt an extremely terrifying energy breaking through the space barrier. This terrifying energy penetrated very quickly. Within a few breaths, a small black spot appeared in the sky, and then evolved into a vortex. The vortex quickly enlarged, and a huge eye appeared from the center of the vortex. Except that this eye is now closed. Senior Bear King, then, what is that? Lin Su's eyes widened in surprise. Wasn't it about the heavenly punishment tribulation thunder? What about Ji-Yun? How could it be such a huge eye? Moreover, Lin Su felt a destructive force from that huge eye, and even had a premonition that if this eye was opened, something terrible would happen. The eye of the sky? The incarnation of the way of heaven, the tyrant bear king said in a deep voice, it is the one who initiates the punishment of heaven. Boy, please stay far away to avoid being affected. By the way, don't forget to use the power of the way of heaven to help Grandpa Xiang and me. Offset part of the power of the heavenly punishment tribulation thunder. Lin Su had been a little breathless due to the huge pressure brought by the eye of heaven. When he heard the words of Tyrant Bear King, he immediately jumped to the distance like lightning, but saw a figure flying faster than him. It was the guy Tu Lingzhu. After running for dozens of miles, Lin Su stopped and looked at Tu Lingzhu with his eyes slanted, but saw that this guy was looking at him with a flattering smile, and he couldn't help but roll his eyes unhappily. Brother, that eye of heaven is too terrifying, it is not something we can contend with now. Tu Lingzu looked at the eye of heaven in the vortex in the sky in the distance with a fearful face and whispered. Do you need to tell me that? Lin Su rolled his eyes at Tu Lingzu. Don't be lazy. Later you have to help me control the power of heaven to help Senior Bear King resist the heavenly punishment thunder. Brother, that's the eye of heaven. Do you really want to go against the eye of heaven? Tu Lingzu's voice was full of fear and unwillingness. Do you think I want to? There is no other way. We can't just watch Senior Bear King being struck to death by the heavenly punishment thunder, right? Moreover, Senior Bear King attracted the heavenly punishment just to help us. It is unreasonable for us to abandon him, right? And don't forget, Xiao Tu, Senior Bear King is the greatest deterrent of our Dragon Valley, and he must not be allowed to fail. Lin Su's expression was very serious and his attitude was very serious. Got it, big brother, Tu Lingzu agreed with some resentment. Just as Lin Su and Tu Lingzu were talking, the eye of heaven had locked onto Tyrant Bear King. Light golden thunders were constantly generated from the eye of heaven and struck Tyrant Bear King. The seemingly slender arcs contained unimaginable terrifying power, which struck Tyrant Bear King's huge body floating in the air and made it fall down bit by bit, like a nail hammered into wood. Although they were dozens of miles apart, Lin Su and the Earth Spirit Pig could still feel the lethality contained in the thin wisps of thunder. Even a tiny bit of such thunder was enough to split Lin Su and the Earth Spirit Pig into charcoal. Only the Tyrant Bear King could withstand it. At the same time, Lin Su also felt the changes in the spiritual field space. It seemed that he felt the provocation of the eye of heaven. The power of the heaven in the spiritual field space began to spontaneously offset the power of the heavenly punishment thunder, but this spontaneous offset was extremely limited. Stinky boy. If you don't take action, do you want to watch Grandpa Bear being struck to death? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Dantian has a little field. Author, The Magic Orb Zoo. Chapter 319. The Tyrant Bear King's voice was exasperated. Lin Su dared not neglect it any longer. He ordered the Earth Spirit Pig to summon the power of heaven to wrap up the heavenly punishment thunder from the eye of heaven. Ugh! As soon as he came into contact with the heavenly punishment thunder, Lin Su groaned, as if he was hit by a sledgehammer as big as a mountain. Fortunately, he was now summoning the power of heaven to contact the thunder with his will. If he had directly contacted it with his spiritual consciousness, he would have been beaten into an idiot. With the addition of Lin Su, the weakening effect of the heavenly power on the thunder was several times stronger, but the consumption was also increased several times. Lin Su only felt that the heavenly power in the heart of heaven was like a flood that had opened the gates. Lin Su was so distressed that he could only grit his teeth and hold on. Fortunately, this heavenly punishment came and went quickly. After half an incense stick, the thunder in the sky suddenly dissipated, and the eye of heaven no longer generated new heavenly punishment thunder. The eye of heaven disappeared. The huge eye that was tightly closed never opened from beginning to end, but Lin Su strangely felt that the eye of heaven looked at him when it left, which made him feel as if his soul was frozen. Senior Bear King, are you okay? Resisting the heavenly punishment thunder consumed a lot of heavenly Dao power, and the heart of heaven was a little shrunk. Lin Su was heartbroken, but the effort was finally rewarded, and the life of Tyrant Bear King was saved. Stinky boy. Do you think I, Grandpa Bear, can be okay in this state? I did it all to help you, but now Grandpa Bear has suffered a great loss. The Tyrant Bear King's current appearance is indeed more miserable than ever. His shiny black fur is now burnt, and his body is covered with wounds, but there is no blood flowing out, because the blood left has long been evaporated by the thunder, exuding a strong barbecue aroma. Yes, yes, yes. Senior Bear King, you've worked hard. Don't worry, I'll prepare the banquet you promised me, so you can have a good rest." Lin Su tried to hold back his smile and comforted Tyrant Bear King. With his eyesight, he could see that although Tyrant Bear King looked miserable, it was just some superficial injuries, not his origin. With his strong physical recovery ability, he could recover in a few days. If he wanted, he could even recover the surface wounds now. He looked so miserable just to win his sympathy and cheat a few more banquets. If they hadn't known each other's temper for many years, it would be hard for outsiders to imagine that such a golden immortal level demon king could have such a rogue side for food, right? The heavenly punishment was passed, and Lin Su moved everyone back to the spiritual field space. The cultivators of Tiandao sect and Xianxia Palace also returned to their respective sects under the leadership of Tiandao sect and Xianxia, without making any statement to the outside world, as if the siege of Dragon Valley in the past 3 years had never happened. Lin Su knew that the two major sects were fulfilling their promise to acquiesce in Dragon Valley becoming one of the 3 major forces. The reason why they did not publicize it was just to maintain that face. Lin Su just smiled lightly and didn't care. As long as the goal was achieved, the process was not important at all, right? The residual soul of the Blood Demon Lord had completely disappeared. Lin Su asked Tyrant Bear King to set up a formation to convert the blood pool and the endless bones in it into energy and store them in the energy pool specially opened up on Dragon Island. It was usually used to supply the Dragon Valley formation. At critical moments, it can also be used to activate the Blood Demon God formation. This Blood Demon God formation was also provided by Tyrant Bear King. Because the residual soul of the Blood Demon Lord was destroyed, the blood pool was refined, and Dragon Valley lost a major barrier, it was naturally necessary to make some preparations and supplements. Otherwise, Lin Su's heart would really be uneasy. After much persuasion, he finally persuaded Tyrant Bear King to set up such a large formation that combines the trapping formation and the killing formation. According to Tyrant Bear King, as long as there is enough energy supply, even ordinary immortals who break in will be trapped to death. The blood transformation divine formation will not appear when it is not activated. In addition, a path has been opened up in the Death Forest by the Tiandao sect and the Xianxia Palace. As soon as the news that Longgu has become the 3rd largest force spread, people who come to admire and intend to join the Longgu sect have been rushing in from all directions like crucian carp crossing the river. However, Longgu has always taken the elite route. If you want to visit, you can, but you cannot go to the island. If you want to join Longgu, you can go to the branches of major cities to take the test first. If you pass, someone will naturally introduce you to Longdao. After the initial craze, the number of people who come here for fame has gradually decreased, and Longgu has entered a state of steady development. Every year, talented disciples are selected from the branches of major cities to enter Longdao. The prestige of the 3rd largest force in the spiritual world has been established and stabilized bit by bit. Regarding Longgu's high-profile performance, the attitudes of Tiandao sect and Xianxia Palace were surprisingly consistent, pretending to be deaf and dumb and not paying attention. Anyone with a discerning eye could see at a glance that the 3 forces might have reached some agreement. Some people who were watching were really relieved after reaching a conclusion, and more people flocked to Longgu branches in major cities. Lin Su was naturally very happy about this change in Longgu. He had been patient for hundreds of years and finally showed his sword in order to achieve such an effect. According to the current situation, even if he ascended to the fairyland in the future, the next batch of disciples of Longgu should have grown up, enough for Longgu to continue to be passed down in the spirit world as one of the 3 major forces. Seeing that everything in Longgu had embarked on a track of healthy development, Lin Su's main energy was also refocused on cultivation. At his current level, his combat skills had long been honed to perfection, and what he lacked was the understanding of the Great Way, which required time to accumulate. For 500 years, Lin Su had not stepped out of the spiritual field space. Although he had not comprehended the power of the new avenue, he had mastered the 2nd stage of the avenue of food, the avenue of mystery, and the most powerful avenue of time and space, and his strength had increased several times. The growth and comprehension of the power of the avenue made Linsu no longer able to suppress his own strength and broke through to the Mahayana stage. Due to the previous accumulation, this breakthrough directly surpassed the early Mahayana stage and reached the peak of the middle Mahayana stage, which shocked everyone. What was even more exaggerated was that at the moment when Linsu broke through, the spiritual field space also underwent corresponding changes. Endless chaotic mist poured in from outside the barrier and penetrated into the land. The land of the entire spiritual field space expanded rapidly at a speed visible to the naked eye, and it took 3 full days to stop expanding. Not only that, the sky above the entire Lingtian space was filled with dragon roars, and the 5 elements of spiritual energy turned into 5 10,000-foot high dragons that swam in the sky. Large patches of clouds appeared out of thin air and covered the entire sky of the Lingtian space tightly. Strong winds and heavy rains roared, and coupled with the violent vibrations when the ground expanded, all the people who practiced in the Lingtian space were awakened and ran out of their respective palaces, staring at the scene in amazement. What does it mean that a 10,000-foot high peak rises from the ground? What does it mean that a desert turns into an oasis overnight? And what does it mean that the world changes dramatically? In the past, they only understood it literally, but at this moment, everyone saw it with their own eyes. In just 3 days, in addition to the area of the Lingtian space expanding hundreds of times, the topography and landforms have undergone earth-shaking changes. In the past, except for the sacred mountain specially built by Linsu, the rest of the Lingtian space was flat and bare rocks, but now it is different. Forests, lakes, grasslands, deserts, mountains, deep ravines, almost all the landforms that can be seen in the outside world are in the Lingtian space. If there is anything missing, it is probably a wide ocean. However, although the area of the Lingtian space has expanded a lot, it is still qualitatively different from the spiritual world, and there are only a few larger lakes. Before Linsu broke through, among the people in Longwu, except for Tyrant Bear King, the highest cultivation was Zhang Yunfan and Jade Rakshasa Shen Baiun. This couple was in the middle stage of Mahayana cultivation. The next was Yan Luo Tianzi, Zi Zuir, and a group of people who successively reached the early stage of Mahayana. On the contrary, Linsu did not break through. As a result, if Linsu hadn't broken through, it would have been fine. Once he did, not only was his momentum amazing, but he also skipped the early stage of Mahayana and reached the peak of the middle stage of Mahayana, which was half a level higher than Zhang Yunfan and the Jade Rakshasa Shen Baiun and his wife. Zhang Yunfan looked at Linsu with a sour look and sighed. Another 500 years passed, and Linsu's cultivation reached the great perfection of the late stage of Mahayana. The dragon essence in his body turned purple and gold. As long as he was in the spirit world, he would feel a clear repulsive force. Linsu knew very well that his cultivation had exceeded the carrying capacity of the laws of the heavenly way of the spirit world. If he delayed it for another 100 years at most, he would not be able to ascend even if he didn't want to. Among the people in Longwu, except Tyrant Bear King, Linsu had the highest cultivation now, followed by Zhang Yunfan and the Jade Rakshasa Shen Baiun and his wife. Both of them were at the peak of the middle stage of Mahayana. Perhaps it was because Zhang Yunfan's cultivation was too smooth and too fast in the past. After entering the Mahayana period, his cultivation speed slowed down significantly, but it was also good, as it could lay a more solid foundation. After a cultivator enters the Mahayana stage, the true essence in the body will slowly transform into immortal essence. This transformation process varies from person to person, but it takes thousands of years at the fastest. Linsu is a pure anomaly. Even Linsu himself is not very clear about the specific reasons, but one thing is certain, he can't stay in the spirit world for too long. Lingtian space is Linsu's natal world. Especially after this promotion, Linsu feels that the connection between himself and Lingtian space is closer. If he ascends to the immortal world, GeniusProtagonist will definitely ascend with him, and he can't stay in the spirit world. Originally, Lin Su planned to use GeniusProtagonist to take Xianxia and others to ascend together, but the words of Tyrant Bear King directly made his plan aborted. Don't dream, Lin boy, the immortal world is different from the spirit world. It is absolutely impossible for you to take advantage of it to bring people into the immortal world. Unless your world reaches the level of the immortal world. Is it really impossible? Lin Su was a little unwilling. If you don't believe it, you can try it. But don't blame Grandpa Bear for not reminding you. If the people in this world are excluded and fall into the ascension channel, they will definitely be squeezed into meat patties by the powerful space pressure force. Tyrant Bear King snorted coldly. No way, is it so serious? Lin Su wiped the cold sweat from his forehead and had to erase this tempting idea from his mind. Since he couldn't take everyone to the fairyland together, Lin Su could only go first. However, in this way, Long would lose the biggest part of his foundation. Without the spiritual field space, the speed at which everyone in Long could comprehend the great Dao of heaven and earth would certainly be greatly reduced. Fortunately, Lin Su had a know-it-all like Tyrant Bear King by his side. It was under his reminder that Lin Su came up with a way to leave a projection of the Dao Tower on Dragon Island. The Dao Tower, as a chaos artifact, has been refined in the spiritual field space for more than 1,000 years. Although Lin Su cannot control it freely yet, it is no problem to leave a projection clone on Dragon Island. As long as a specific secret method is used, 10 disciples of Dragon Island can be allowed to enter every 1,000 years. This is similar to the use of the Dao Tower in the Tiandao section. The difference is that the number of avenues in the Dao Tower projection is less than 1% of the real Dao Tower, but it is enough for Long. Alas, I never thought that among us, it would be you, Linzi, who would ascend to the immortal world first. Everyone knew that Lin Su was about to ascend, and Zhang Yunfan was the most impressed. Lin Su's cultivation speed in recent years was like riding a rocket, and he reached the realm of ascension in just 1,000 years. He couldn't be suppressed. I really don't know how this guy cultivated. Xianxia and the other two girls looked reluctant to leave. They had always been apart from Lin Su. They had been together for a long time in the past 1,000 years, but they still cultivated in their own way most of the time. Now they were separated from each other. I will go to the immortal world to help you. It's not a life and death separation. We will meet sooner or later. Lin Su was also reluctant to leave, but he could only suppress his emotions and comfort Xianxia and the other two girls. He couldn't be as tearful as them, right? The day of separation will always come. After arranging everything on Dragon Island, Lin Su released his breath, and the laws of heaven quickly responded. A colorful vortex appeared in the sky above Lin Su's head, and a ray of light shot out from the colorful vortex and shone on Lin Su. Everyone, see you in the fairyland. Lin Su had already put the spiritual field space into his Dantian. There were only Tyrant Bear King and Earth Spirit Pig in the spiritual field space. The Earth Spirit Pig had merged with the 5 elements of the spiritual field space and would not be rejected. As for Tyrant Bear King, he was a golden immortal. The laws of heaven in the fairyland revealed in the Ascension Channel would naturally not reject him. He could stay in the spiritual field space very comfortably and follow Lin Su through the Ascension Channel to return to the fairyland. A strong suction came from the colorful vortex. Lin Su's figure flew off the ground in the light column and flew towards the colorful vortex. He soon sank into it and disappeared. The colorful vortex also quickly shrank and disappeared after Lin Su flew into it. Fairyland, here I come. Dantian has a little field. Author, The Magic Orb Zoo. Chapter 320. Is this the fairyland? Lin Su stared at the scene in front of him with wide eyes, stretched out his hand to poke the Tyrant Bear King beside him, and swallowed his saliva with some difficulty. Senior Bear King, are you sure this is the fairyland and not the demon world? Coming out of the Ascension Passage, I originally thought that I would see a fairyland scene with deep mountains and waterfalls, but who knew that what came into view was actually a scene like hell. Only half of the broken walls of the dilapidated Ascension Hall were left. The sky was gray and the endless smoke and dust blocked the sunlight tightly. The ground was like scorched earth, covered with large and small gullies. Let alone the chirping of insects and birds, not even a living thing could be seen. The scene in front of me was really not related to the legendary fairyland. If it weren't for the extremely rich fairy spirit in the air, Lin Su would have doubted whether he had failed to ascend. Senior Bear King? Senior. What's wrong with you? After touching Tyrant Bear King for a long time, he didn't see any reaction from him. Lin Su couldn't help but turn his head strangely, but was shocked. He saw Tyrant Bear King's eyes were red, staring blankly ahead, and tears were pouring down his cheeks in his huge bear eyes. After many years of friendship with Tyrant Bear King, it was the first time that Lin Su saw him behave like this. He had a bad premonition in his heart. The fairyland was still breached. Great Sage, Lao He, I'm sorry for you. After being stunned for a long time, Tyrant Bear King suddenly opened his throat and cried loudly, and the violent breath burst out, like a whirlwind rising from the ground. Lin Su felt the strong wind pressing on his face, and it was difficult to breathe. He couldn't help but half bend his body, and the power of Dragon Yuan spread all over his body to resist this terrible pressure. Is this the true strength of Tyrant Bear King? The strength of the Golden Immortal, one of the 8 Demon Kings, is indeed extraordinary. Lin Su sighed in his heart. He is now a genuine immortal. Although his immortal body has not been fully formed, Lin Su is confident that his current strength is no weaker than that of an ordinary immortal. Even so, in front of the Tyrant Bear King who accidentally burst out his momentum, Lin Su can only barely resist. It can be seen how terrible the strength of this lazy-looking foodie bear is. After a long time, Tyrant Bear King calmed down and put away his momentum. Looking at Lin Su with a confused look on his face, he was about to say something, but his face suddenly changed, and he grabbed Lin Su and broke through the space and teleported away. As soon as the two left, a black cloud suddenly appeared from the horizon. The next moment, it appeared at the place where Lin Su and the others disappeared. The black cloud dispersed, and a figure with bone spurs on his back and a height of more than 2 meters appeared. If Lin Su was still there, he would recognize that this was a demon from the Black Demon clan, whose cultivation was much higher than that of Lin Su now, probably equivalent to the level of a 6th level immortal. Strange, I clearly felt a very strong breath here just now. How come it disappeared all of a sudden? Could it be that someone from the immortal world appeared again? The demon from the Black Demon clan explored the surroundings and found nothing. After muttering a few words, he set up the black cloud again and flew away. In a cave 100 miles away from here, Tyrant Bear King sat cross-legged on the ground with his eyes closed, as if sensing something. There was a transparent light curtain covering the entrance of the cave, and nothing could be seen from outside the cave. No one would have thought that in this shallow cave that could be seen at a glance, there was actually a man and a bear hidden. Suddenly, Tyrant Bear King opened his eyes and let out a long breath. Left. It was a close call. I was almost discovered. Senior Bear King, what's going on? What are you hiding from? Also, isn't this the fairyland? Why does it look so desolate and dead, just like the demon world? Seeing Tyrant Bear King finally return to normal, Lin Su couldn't help it. This is indeed the fairyland, or it used to be the fairyland. I don't know the details. It wasn't like this when I was sent away by the great sage. Tyrant Bear King sighed and slowly began to tell the story. From him, Lin Su finally understood the truth of the matter. The 3 realms of immortals, demons, and gods are the planes at the top of the pyramid among the 3,000 worlds. Among them, the divine realm is the most independent and is protected by a divine formation. Except for the battle between the 3 races of gods, demons, and immortals hundreds of thousands of years ago, immortals and demons rarely appear. The two realms of immortals and demons are of similar size, but the environment is one in the sky and one on the ground. The demon world is bitterly cold, and the demons are generally warlike and murderous, and are extremely aggressive. The fairy world, which belongs to the same top-level plane world as the demon world, naturally became the target that the demons wanted to occupy, from the ancient times until the tyrant Bear King left the fairy world. In the war between the three tribes of gods, demons, and immortals hundreds of thousands of years ago, although the fairy world finally forced the demons to retreat, the losses were extremely heavy. Most of the top masters at the level of the master fell, and the remaining ones were also injured and weakened. In the end, they had to dissolve their weapons and reincarnate to rebuild. At the same time, the remaining masters of the god realm set up the god clan barrier at the cost of their lives to seal the god realm. The demons could not enter, so they put all their strength on invading the fairy world. In the years that followed, the fairy and demon worlds continued to fight. Because of the lack of masters at the level of the master, the fairy world has always been at a disadvantage. If it weren't for the emergence of two great saints with combat power comparable to the master, the fairy world would have been broken by the demons long ago. These two great sages are the great sage equaling heaven Sun Wukong and the great sage Red Lotus Xue Tianshang. One is from the demon race and the other is from the human race. Although both of them have not been able to cross the threshold between the saint level and the master level, their combat power is not inferior to that of the master level powerhouses. It is precisely because they led the immortals in the fairy world to resist tenaciously that the fairy world was able to survive the continuous invasion of the demons. This state lasted until the battle 100,000 years ago. The Monkey King and the Red Lotus Monkey King were besieged by the demon master's design. The masters of the demon world came out to attack the immortal world for several months. In the end, the immortal world's protective formation was breached. Most of the fairy land has fallen. The tyrant Bear King is one of the 8 demon kings under Monkey King, the Monkey King. In that battle, 6 of the 8 demon kings were killed, leaving only the tyrant Bear King and the purple gold dragon king. They were killed when they were about to die. Sun Wukong, who broke through the formation and arrived, used his supreme magic power to send him away, and the tyrant Bear King was teleported to the special space at the top of the Meteor God Peak in the secret realm of gods and demons. With the temperament of the tyrant Bear King, he would not live in an ignoble way, but Sun Wukong had already guessed his thoughts when he teleported him away, and used the demon essence and blood to condense into chains to trap him. He was unable to break free until his injuries were restored. If Lin Su hadn't accidentally entered it, I'm afraid the tyrant Bear King would have been trapped for tens of thousands of years before he could fully recover and break free. Because he was teleported away, the tyrant Bear King did not know the outcome of that battle. However, judging from the current situation, the immortal realm was probably defeated in that battle, and he did not know whether the two are the great sage and the immortals in the immortal world still alive. Rightward arrow. After tyrant Bear King finished speaking, Lin Su was speechless for a while. Damn it! What the hell is this? Originally thought that after ascending to the fairy world, it would be a brand new situation. Lin Su had imagined the situation after ascending to the fairy world countless times, but he never imagined that it would be so bad. Fairyland. Whether it still exists or not is a question. Look at the scene around you. How is it different from the legendary demon world? 100,000 years ago, I am afraid that the great changes in the world are related to the changes in the fairy world. No wonder no immortals have appeared in the spiritual world since then. All the people who ascended to the fairy world never came back. I am afraid it is not that they don't want to go back, but you can't go back at all, can you? Perhaps he was discovered by the demons the moment he ascended to the fairy world, and was either captured or killed. The reason why the tyrant Bear King pulled him away in such a hurry just now was probably because he sensed someone from the demon clan was approaching. If there wasn't the tyrant Bear King by his side, I'm afraid I wouldn't be able to hide in the cave so safely at this moment, right? But, How long are you going to hide from? What is the current situation in the fairy world? Has everything really fallen? Senior Bear King, what should we do now? Lin Su looked at the tyrant Bear King. He knew nothing about the fairy world. The only one he could rely on was the tyrant Bear King. Although the tyrant Bear King also had enough, I haven't returned to the fairyland in 100,000 years. We can only take one step at a time. The tyrant Bear King scratched his head. He has been away from the fairy world for 100,000 years. What is the current situation of the fairy world? He has no eyesight. He is better than Lin Su. Not much. Lin Su rolled his eyes. What's the difference between this and not saying anything? It seems that it is impossible to expect the tyrant Bear King to come up with any good ideas. You still have to find a way on your own. Senior Bear King, is it safe here? Lin Su lowered his head and thought for a while before asking. As long as you are not a master at the Golden Immortal level, you won't be able to find it. What if a demon at the level of a Golden Immortal appears? Is it so easy for you to become a Golden Immortal? It is rare for a Golden Immortal to appear among tens of thousands of immortals. The masters of the demon clan's Golden Immortal level are not just cabbages in the field. Besides, such masters will not just wander around. That's it, then I'll be relieved. Lin Su thought about it for a while and felt that the most important thing now was to complete the transformation of the immortal body first, so that he could have some ability to protect himself without having to rely on the tyrant Bear King for everything. Senior Bear King, I want to transform into an immortal body, please protect me. After receiving a positive reply from the tyrant Bear King, Lin Su felt relieved and returned to the original form of the five-clawed golden dragon and began to absorb the spirit of the fairy to transform into a fairy body. Of course, due to the size of the cave, the size of the body was controlled to a few feet. Waves of purple gold light emitted from Lin Su's body, and a large amount of fairy spirit energy converged towards the cave where the two of them were. The movement became louder and louder, gradually forming a giant funnel visible to the naked eye, and the bottom of the funnel was the cave where Lin Su and the two are located. This boy Lin made such a big noise, I really think those demons are blind. The tyrant Bear King walked out of the cave, looked up at the huge fairy energy tornado above his head, shook his head with a wry smile, and started to arrange it. After setting up the formation, with Lin Su's current posture, the transformation of the immortal body will probably last for a long time. If there is no need to use the formation to cover it up, as long as you pass nearby, everyone will know that someone is practicing here. Lin Su's transformation into the immortal body lasted for more than half a year, and he had basically drained away all the immortal energy within 100 miles. Because of the protection of the tyrant Bear King's formation, the influx of immortal energy, the movement became almost imperceptible, and did not attract any prying eyes from the demon clan. Senior Bear King, thank you. After completing the transformation of the immortal body, the first thing Lin Su did was to thank the Overlord Bear King. He also knew how big a disturbance he had made. If it were not for the protection of the Overlord Bear King, he would 10% chance of being discovered by a demon. 4th level immortal. A flash of light flashed in the eyes of the tyrant Bear King. Immortals are divided into 9 levels. Lin Su Gong directly reached the level of the 4th order immortal as soon as he completed the transformation of his immortal body. The tyrant Bear King has never seen anything like this in so many years. I have a premonition that as long as Lin Su doesn't die prematurely, he will definitely be able to reach the top level of dominance in the future. I just don't know if I still have the time and opportunity under the current situation in the fairy world. Alas. Senior Bear King, let's leave here first and find out some information. After practicing in the cave for half a year, Lin Su didn't want to stay any longer. He was eager to know the exact situation of the fairy world and whether it had completely fallen as Tyrant Bear King thought. Setting up the escape light, Lin Su and Tyrant Bear King flew towards the east. Half a day later, Tyrant Bear King suddenly changed his face and stopped the escape light. He winked at Lin Su and pointed to a gully on the left. Lin Su glanced in the direction of Tyrant Bear King's finger. A silver-white light flashed in his eyes, and his pupils suddenly shrank. In the gully pointed by Tyrant Bear King's finger, it was obviously covered by a barrier. If Tyrant Bear King hadn't reminded him, Lin Su would not have noticed it even with his innate skill silver eyes that break illusions. Go and have a look. The demons were not good at formations and the barrier did not look like it was formed naturally. Lin Su was interested. Maybe he could meet an immortal from the fairy world. As the fifth Shura of the Yama Palace, Lin Su was not as good as the founder Yama in hiding his body, but he was not much different. If he wanted to hide his body, the enemy would not be able to find him if his cultivation was not much different. Not to mention the Tyrant Bear King, the cultivation of the Golden Immortal was not just a nice talk. The two came to the barrier quietly. Lin Su used breaking delusion silver eyes to look inside the barrier. However, this look made his eyes split, and the evil spirit surged all over his body. His body trembled violently because of extreme anger. In the gully inside the barrier, there was a huge bonfire at this moment. On the bonfire, the body that was burning and crackling was the body of an immortal. Next to the bonfire, two demons were feasting on the two roasted bodies of immortals. What's wrong with you, Lin? What's inside this barrier? Although Tyrant Bear King could sense the existence of the barrier, he did not have the silver eyes that can see illusions like Lin Su that could see what was going on inside the barrier. Seeing that Lin Su's face looked different, he couldn't help but feel a little surprised.